Councilmember Cook will invite you to invite the Scouts up.
Testing. If I can have all the Scouts, would you please join me here to the front?
Thank you. With our Scouts in front, I will call the meeting to order of our January 17, 2013 Gilbert Town Council meeting. As noted on the agenda, the invocation may be offered by a person of any religion, faith, belief, or non-belief, as well as council members. A list of volunteers is maintained by the town clerk, and interested persons should contact the clerk for further information. The invocation tonight will be offered by Wynn Farrell, after which one of our Scouts will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Cook will then introduce the Scouts. We invite those in council chambers to please arise.
Our Father in heaven, we are honored to be gathered together this evening with our civic leaders and with those of interest who have come here to discuss items that are of importance for this city. Father, we're grateful for the opportunity we have of being here. We're grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy. We're grateful for the opportunity of being able to vote for our leaders and being able to select those that we desire that will lead us correctly. We're grateful for these young men and men who stand here before us, the Boy Scouts, who conduct their lives in a manner that should be pleasing unto all of us, that we can be an example to. We love thee, Father. We thank thee for all that we have. We pray those things that would happen tonight would be in accordance with thee. Thou would bless them. Pray thou would bless those leaders that we have here that would be listening to those things, that they'd be able to be diligent and listen carefully and make decisions that would be proper for this community. We love thee, Father, and dedicate this meeting unto thee in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Tonight we'll have Casey lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is always wonderful to see our Scouts and their leaders in helping nurturing.
You may be seated, please. Go ahead.
It's always wonderful to see our Scouts here and their leaders helping nurture these young men. And what I'd like to do is have the microphone passed down. If you can just introduce yourself. And then on behalf of the council, we have a gift for each of them, which is a copy of the United States Constitution.
I'm Casey Benson.
I'm Aaron Williams.
I'm Tuli Paunga.
I'm Tala Paunga.
Mark Muhlstein.
Corbin Muhlstein.
Brad Walker.
Levi Connolly.
Andrew Martinez.
Evan Lagerholm.
Alex Prisby.
James Barnum.
Well, can we extend a warm thank you of applause to these wonderful, wonderful men.
And we're going to have them pose for a picture, is that right? And so we'll ask you to get closer together. Councilmember Cook, please join them. You were just fine. You got the pillar up for fairness. Great, thanks. Thank you. We will continue with the meeting. Our deputy clerk will now conduct the roll call, and you'll notice this is a historic night where we've changed seats, and we welcome Councilmember Jared Taylor, who took the oath of office on Tuesday night. Please.
Mayor Lewis.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cooper,
Here.
Councilmember Cook,
Here.
Councilmember Daniels, Councilmember Peterson,
Here.
Councilmember Ray, Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Agenda item number 1 is one of our pillars that will be read by Councilmember Taylor.
This month's highlighted pillar is fairness. As council members and town staff, we are committed to listening and being open-minded. We promise to act in a manner that doesn't place blame or take advantage. We take pride in being fair.
Thank you. That's part of our character counts. Agenda item number 2, Councilmember Daniels will present a proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. If we could have the representatives from the YMCA come on forward. And in the interest of time, I will read a couple paragraphs from this proclamation that recognizes you and all your efforts. Then we'd like you to introduce yourselves and tell us what you do at the Y. Whereas the Valley of the Sun YMCA's Building Futures mentoring program strives to make a difference in a child's life by setting a positive example and sharing their time, knowledge, and experience, mentors play an essential role in preparing our youth for a bright future. And by lending a hand and serving as a mentor, countless individuals empower youth with their confidence, inspiration, and tools to lead rich and fulfilling lives. On behalf of Mayor Lewis, we do hereby proclaim January 1st through the 31st as National Mentoring Awareness Month.
My name is Jennifer Hewitt. I am the program director for the Building Futures Mentoring Program through the YMCA. I serve Gilbert, Mesa, and the Pinal County area.
I'm Angelica Ledger, and I'm one of the mentees.
My name is Mark Newman, and I am a volunteer mentor, and I chair the advisory committee that reports to Jennifer.
Thank you to all three of you for your efforts within the community. Nice round of applause.
Great. We want to welcome up the Colts team, coaches, team mom. Come on up. The Colts recently competed in a flag football tournament, did quite well enough that they won every single game in the tournament, and they're off to New Orleans this next week to be part of the Super Bowl festivities. They're not quite yet in the Super Bowl, but they are going to play in the tournament to become the national champions, which we fully anticipate having them back next month to recognize them as a national champion. So there's no pressure on them, but we expect that they'll do quite well. And their coach, Coach Exposito, some of you who are diehard council attendees, his other team that he's assistant coach on was here last month, who's also going next week. Different division, they play in the tackle division, but Coach Exposito's done a fantastic job, and to have two teams from Gilbert is pretty amazing. So I'm gonna pass the microphone down, have each one of the kids introduce themselves. We'll start with the coach of the team and also have the team mom introduce herself. There are proclamations for each of the coaches, each of the players, and for the team mom.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm Bob Esposito. These young men up here during the regional tournament that was held, there were 30 teams from 4 states, and they went 6-0. There were teams as far away as Watsonville, California, and just did a tremendous job. We have great support from the parents and the community. I want to give a quick shout out to Santan Learning Center, which is kind of our sponsor of the team, and the community's been great. We've actually passed our fundraising goal for going to New Orleans. Our team mom is Julie Martinez here. Jared, go ahead and say your name.
Hi, my name is Jared Wilson.
My name's Ryan Martinez.
My name's Christopher Sipple.
My name's Nick Canfield.
My name's Austin Godfrey.
My name's Antonio Gutierrez.
My name's Nate Martinez.
My name's Timothy Boyd.
My name's Danny McFarland.
My name's Dante Esposito.
Let's give each one of these boys and their coach a round of applause. we wish them the best of luck next week in New Orleans and hope to see them again in a month with another proclamation. So thank you very much for coming, guys.
So I won't be in the background.
We seem to have had a lot of Green Bay Packer fans in town, and my favorite team's the 49ers. So are you 49er fans? Yes, I love that. Patrick, look at that. See? Next on the agenda, Eagle Scout Casey Benson, if you could please come forward. And Judge Hudson and Susan. Casey, and you can just stand to my right. We have a certificate of appreciation, and there's a video that goes along with this. Let's go ahead and show that video while we are gathering, and you'll understand in greater detail our certificate of appreciation.
This is the photo that we first took when we came here.
13-year-old Casey Benson is now an Eagle Scout, and the project that landed his prestigious honor is right here in the Gilbert Courthouse.
I was searching around for Eagle Scout projects, and I love woodworking. My dad does it, my grandpa does it. I wanted something that I could look back on after I made it.
And what better for an Eagle Scout than an eagle itself? Benson handcrafted this wooden base for a sculpture previously donated to the courthouse.
The inside skeleton is right here.
With the help of his friends, he cut, stained, and assembled the wooden cabinet. After seeing the final product, court employees say they're proud to keep it on display.
Well, I knew it would be quite nice, but I was not expecting how elegant it looked, how professional it looked.
I just felt really happy and proud, and I just knew that I couldn't have gotten that far without some friends and family that really helped me.
This work of art will rest on a work of art itself for years to come. A handmade base built by one of Gilbert's own.
The woodwork is beautiful, the colors are beautiful, and it just was nice to be approached and to see the good in the community, to see a young person motivated and wanting to do something for the community.
This is Gilbert Digital.
That is so inspiring. Thank you, Casey. This is an official certificate of appreciation. And I understand you're here in Troop 680, and you have some of your Scout leaders here and family, and we appreciate their support. That is something that will be inspiring for years to come. Judge Hudson, and then Susan, you were in the video. Do you want to make a comment or two? Please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, as all the good people in this town do, I got out of the way and let my coworker here take charge of this project and work with Casey. And so I'm going to let her speak. I'll get out of her way one more time.
Well, it's not very often that somebody wants to do something for the court, as you can imagine. So this was really a treat for us. Casey approached us in the most professional way. I can't say enough about him. I do want to thank the others who helped him as well. We're so proud of it. It is truly so beautiful. If you are at the court, please come by and see it. And I really can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you all for tonight and making me look so good. I couldn't have done it with a lot of people, like I said in the video, and just really thankful for those people and for being able to do this project.
And as we know, a lot of leadership went into this, and you did get help, but at the same time, you took the initiative, and we appreciate you for that. And so let's gather the four of us a little bit closer. One more big round of applause for Casey Benson. For those here in council chambers, there are 2 flyers that are near the door as you come in, and one will be discussed in just a moment. And so I'll just briefly mention it's our Monday celebration of the Martin Luther King Day, and more details will be provided in just a few seconds. The second one is on Saturday night. The Lions Club is doing their annual Bluegrass Bash. And I mention that because I've been asked to be the MC, and I don't want to take away from the music. So on Saturday night at Gilbert High School, 7 p.m., I'll try and be quick, get to the music, but the community is also invited to that for some fundraising they are doing for some community projects. Next on the agenda, we have communication from citizens. As noted, members of the public may comment on matters within the jurisdiction of the town, but not on the agenda. The council's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Vice Mayor Cooper, what request do we have tonight in the communication from citizen category?
Mayor Lewis, we have 2, Laura Barnes and then Brad Stratton.
Okay, thank you. And Laura and Brad, as you will now be invited to go to the podium, if you could state your name and if you're a Gilbert resident for the minutes, for the record, and then you will be given 3 minutes to speak. Please.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Cooper, council members. Nice to see you all. My name is Laura Barnes. I'm a Gilbert resident. I stand before you this evening to share with you, first of all, the Human Relations, Culture and Arts Promotion Commission. Congratulations to Casey. The Arts Subcommittee funded and supported this project, and we've been working closely with Casey every step of the way, and we just wanted to add our congratulations to him this evening as well. Secondly, I just wanted to bring to your attention the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day Family Picnic that is being hosted at Redemption Church, which is at 1820 West Elliott Road between McQueen and Arizona Roads. And it's on at 1 o'clock to 5 p.m. on Monday, 21st of January. And that is actually the National Day of Service. And I know that the children are all off school on that day. And I just wanted to share a few more details about the event and invite the community and council to come hang out with us for a while and maybe have a little bounce on the bouncy castles that we have coming. Mayor Lewis is going to be opening our event, and thank you for that. And we have many different components to this event this year. We have a children's art competition that has been run through the Gilbert School District and the Higley School District. And that will be an exhibition of every piece of artwork that was submitted. And we'll be announcing the winners of that competition at the event. In addition to that, we have a full program of items that will celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. King. We have a variety of inspirational speakers, and we have some musical performances, live musical performances, including the Grand Canyon University New Life Singers, the Gilbert High School Concert Choir, the Gilbert Town Fiddlers, and Campo Verde High School Chamber Ensemble. In addition to what's going on in terms of the performance on the stage, we also have 4 bounce houses, a children's play area. We will also be having, again, to honor the legacy of Dr. King, we have a variety of community exhibitors coming to the event, such as Save the Family. We have East Valley Child Crisis Center coming, Mom Props, parenting of teen classes. We have My Sister's Place, who are bringing some information about the Domestic Violence Center. The Area Agency on Aging and Elder Care, a variety of community exhibitors who want to share their resources and services with the community. So we have a lot going on this day. It's a family picnic event. We invite the community to bring a picnic, a blanket, come and hang out. It's a free community event. We'd love to see you there. Come join us. Redemption Church on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad Stratton, please.
Mayor Lewis, members of the council, I'd also like to congratulate Eagle Scout Casey if he's still around. That's a great accomplishment. Wish him the best. I'd like to speak to you briefly about the police towing contract that is scheduled to bid via RFP on Tuesday, and one particular component of it that does fall within the council's purview and I'd like some help with. I represent Valley Express Towing. We are a established elite tower here in the Valley and actually have a lot, yard, facility, complete operation on Broadway Road that we invested nearly $1.4 million in only after contacting the city of Gilbert to make sure that despite the fact it was in Mesa, it would meet the city of Gilbert's needs. We've been serving Gilbert for nearly a dozen years, and proudly so. We'd like to continue this. The city currently has 8 contractors, and the goal of the new RFP is to reduce that number to 5, which is probably a noble goal. Unfortunately, the diameter of the qualifying circle, which is a perimeter drawn from Lindsay and 202 8 miles around, that allows a person to bid without being disqualified, without even inspection, has eliminated 3 of the current 8 contractors already and left you with a competition of 5 looking for 5, which is less of a competition and more of a coronation. Our company being one of those, we fall just over 10 miles out, and we're hoping for some relief from the council, to be frank. Of the 5 that are remaining, you have a company that is struggling through Chapter 7, a company that was raided last month, predominantly in the news, and almost all of their executives were indicted on multiple felonies, and 2 companies that have been investigated and busted for the theft of personal property out of vehicles that were being towed and overbilling and customer complaints, not by just anybody, that's by Gilbert PD. An 8-mile radius just isn't going to work for what you're looking for, unfortunately. The city will be asking any contractor that enters into one of these agreements to tow about 1,000 police tows per month. If this perimeter is allowed to stand at 8 miles, there will be 1 incumbent tower who has ever towed 1,000 police tows per month. Every other tower that you will be hiring, and that's 4 more, will be of inferior resources, experience, you name it. This largely can't be acceptable, I would hope. I'd like to urge you to redraw the boundary to 11 miles. To look at this and to say we'd really love to have something very close, very local makes a lot of sense when you look at it from far enough away. However, when you get closer and you understand the details I've just discussed, it stops making sense. It's like trying to find 8 aerospace engineers within 8 miles. You're going to end up with paper airplanes. If it feels like it's a little bit below your pay grade, and I don't blame you, this is a small item on a purchasing item. It's been 12 years since Gilbert re-awarded towing. No reason to believe it won't be 12 more. $15 to $17 million will go from Gilbert Motorist to whatever contractors are hired. I trust you, it's not below your pay grade, and more importantly, it's in keeping with your new vision statement. Gilbert will be best in class in all lines of service. You just can't accomplish that, unfortunately, within 8 miles of Lindsay and 202. A police towing event is a terrible event. Your car is wrecked, you may be injured, your family may be injured, kids have no way to get home from school. It's not a good day in your life to start off with. It doesn't need to be made worse with an inferior tower. The only thing I'm asking for, and I'm standing in a room that had an invocation and an Eagle Scout Award, is maybe one of the most American things you'll do tonight in addition to those. Let free enterprise, the free market, take place here. I'm not asking for a continued contract, I'm not asking for work, and I'm not asking for money. All I want is a chance to compete If everything I'm saying is false, we'll lose. But if everything I'm saying is true, you'll be doing a service to the citizens, and you'll be doing a service to my company.
Brad, thank you. As the agenda stated, we have limitations on responding, and so I'll turn to town leadership for the council to understand there is a bidding date, and so time is of the essence, and so if you can make sure we have all the proper information to do some follow-up, we'll ask you to do so. Thank you. Next on the calendar is next on the agenda is the consent calendar. On the agenda, it is noted that the items are listed below are considered consent calendar items and may be approved by a single motion unless removed at the request of council for further discussion or action. Other items on the agenda may be added to the consent calendar and approved under a single motion. Vice Mayor Cooper, please.
Thank you. I move that we approve the consent calendar, items 6 through 12, with the exception of item 11, which will be pulled for further discussion. Also noting that as part of the motion, the minor change to the minutes that was presented to us on the dais, and also including in this motion the request that we continue public hearing item number 13 to the meeting of July 24th, 2013. And a couple other things here in this lengthy motion. The approval of administrative items. Number 23, with a recommendation from Council Member Peterson.
Mayor, that recommendation is the appointment of Hugo Latios as one regular member to an unexpired term on the Industrial Development Authority ending in March 11, 2013, with an additional 6-year term ending March 11, 2019, and the appointment of another regular member who is Jason Lockinger to an unexpired term on the Industrial Development Authority ending March 11, 2015.
Thank you. Also, we're noting that on the dais was a correction to the ending date of one of those terms, so thank you. And then also item 24 with a recommendation from Councilmember Taylor.
Consider appointment of Kirk Bowden to the Human Relations, Culture, and Arts Promotion Commission with the term beginning February 1st, 2013 and ending January 31st, 2015.
Okay, and then finally item number 25 with a recommendation from Councilmember Ray.
The appointment of Ronald Floyd as a regular member of the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Board with a term beginning February 1, 2013 and ending January 31st, 2014. An appointment of Beverly Schwenning and Sherry Scott to the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Board with terms beginning February 1, 2013 and ending January 31st, 2015. And appointments of Sandra Nicholson and Lois Blake, the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Board with a term beginning February 1, 2013 and ending January 31st, 2016. And finally, appointment of Lyman Davis to the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Board with a term beginning February 1st, 2013 and January 31st, 2014, and that's as a one alternate member.
Thank you. That's the motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
With that motion and second, please vote. It's approved with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. On consent calendar, item number 11, who wished to speak on that?
Councilmember Taylor.
Councilmember Taylor, please.
Okay, let's see if we can get this right here. Thank you, Mayor. As this is the first time I'll be here and voting on a number of items here. Studying the agenda, I noticed that there's a number of liquor license issues, and wanting to be consistent, I thought it would be good to just explain the thinking that I'm going to have as you see some of my votes process here. On Tuesday, after the swearing in, I expressed my appreciation for President Lincoln and the sesquicentennial year that this is for the Emancipation Proclamation and the Gettysburg Address. I really appreciate President Lincoln. Before he was president, he was part of what was called the temperance movement. And that was a movement of citizens that were concerned about the negative effects and the proliferation of alcohol in a community. And I share that concern of President Lincoln and others, I looked on some statistics to see what it means for Gilbert, because we have a community with low crime rate here. So what does it mean for us? Since 2006, if you take an average run rate, we have 1,100 to 1,200 DUI arrests just in the town. On top of all that, we have about 600 to 700 alcohol-related arrests as a run rate in the last couple of years, and there's additional things on top of that. If you look nationally, the average drunk driver has driven 80 times before their first arrest. So if I think about the safety of my children and family and others in the community, it's of concern. And every 90 seconds, someone is injured by a drunk driver. 53 minutes, someone is killed by a drunk driver. And that's just the driving aspect of the issue. We all know and have maybe family members that have felt the effects of this in their home. So without belaboring the point there, I would restate that we do have a great community with a low crime rate, and we've been recognized nationally for that, which is to our credit and to the credit of the police department as well. But that gives us an opportunity to reflect and consider. And so I'm inclined to vote no on, categorically every liquor license. I'll vote for the continuance because that's not really a grant, but that's just moving it to another agenda. And it's not against the Historical Society, which is Agenda 11, or any business. You'll see my voting record is strongly pro-business as I campaign, but I also campaign for Gilbert families. And this is an issue that is important to families, as I've statistically shared, and there's mountains of other statistics. It's not a call for prohibition, it's a call for temperance. If I believed in prohibition, I would pursue more of a policy action. And for all practical purposes, the history of this, the only time, I think it's only been a couple of years ago when the town actually turned down a request or a recommendation, and the State Liquor Board turned it right over and they granted it. So I realize the practical effect of what I'm doing. But if you see the no on the liquor licenses, it's a pro-family vote, and it's an expression of concern and temperance. And thank you, Mayor, for the time on that. I just wanted to share that as an explanation to the voter for my vote.
Thank you. Any other discussion on item 11? Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, I'll try and be brief. But this is an important topic, and we really haven't had discussion as a council on it. And so, first of all, I want to compliment Councilmember Taylor for being willing to stand up for what he believes in. I think that's wonderful. And I expect, Mayor, you may be doing something similar on a later item, same basic topic. So my compliments go to both you and anyone else who feels they want to stand up on this. But I want everyone to know that I've pondered very deeply upon this issue, and I feel that correct government principles support approval of these items. And I'm not going to go into the whole, could be a day, essay or discussion, but just briefly, in all of these issues, I always start with what Jefferson started with when he stated that the reason for government was to protect individual rights. I then hearkened back to what John Locke said, the man who came up with life, liberty, and property, and he said that a man has property in himself. This is really the basis of all property rights. If you don't own yourself, how can you really own anything else? Looked at this way, the proper role of government could really be summed up as to protect individual property rights, as everything can really fit in that concept. The point here is that individuals have the right to use and enjoy their property as they please, so long as it doesn't interfere with someone else's right to do the same. It's the intersection of those rights, when there's a conflict between one individual rights and another, that's where government has to step in and do what we can to best honor both parties' rights as equally and fairly as possible. Now, my concern in this case is I don't see an intersection of rights. I see the right of a business owner to run their facility as they please. Nobody has a right to enter their establishment except upon the terms that that owner establishes. And so I think that's their right. Now, I also understand that the concern about protecting others, but I don't know whose rights are violated on the other side. I can't spell that out. An example was given about we prohibit drinking in public property. Well, to me, that's a very different issue. No individual has the right to do with public property as they please. That's a public decision. That would be a very different case. To your point about societal costs, I want to give an example of of something that has societal costs, but we wouldn't consider it a moral issue, probably wouldn't legislate on it, and that's texting while driving. And the likelihood that you'll text while driving and get in an accident is higher if you own a smartphone or a cell phone. That we could, there's a chain of risks that builds to that. Should we outlaw smartphones for that? My point is that freedom does have its risks. It's true. But that's the price of freedom. And when there are damages made by somebody taking risks, there's restitution. I know in some cases we're talking the cost is lives. I understand that. And that's why we have drinking and driving laws. That should be illegal. You're on public property and you're taking risks with other people's safety, and they have just as much right to be there as you do. I could go on, and I'm sorry for that, but I really have analyzed this from many different directions. And I'll just end with a quote from Lincoln, which is actually my favorite quote. It's on my Facebook page. And he said, "We all declare for liberty, but in using the same word, we do not all mean the same thing. With some, the word liberty may mean for each man to do as he pleases with himself and the product of his labor, while with others, the same word may mean for some men to do as they please with other men and the product of other men's labor. Here are two not only different but incompatible things called by the same name, liberty. And it follows that each of these things is by the respective parties called by two different and incompatible names, liberty and tyranny." And that's from 1864. Thank you for your indulgence. I do respect the decision. I just really think the right principle is to approve in this case. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion on agenda item 11?
Mayor.
Please.
I feel like I'm in political science class and forgot to pay my tuition. I move that we approve item 11 as presented to us.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Please vote. That's approved with a 6-1 vote. Thank you. We move to the public hearing. Before I read what's on the agenda, just for planning, we have continued item 13, so we're looking at 14 through 22. And I see, Vice Mayor Cooper, you have some stacks here. Which items do we have requests from the public to speak on?
19 and 22A.
19 and 22A. As I look around council chambers, is there from agenda items 14 to 22A, other than 19 and 22A, are there requests for any other items? Okay. And to the council, are there some, well, I think at the study session I mentioned 16, other requests to have, other than 16, 19, or 22A that we would want to discuss? Okay. So, let me read what's on the agenda. That items 14 through 22 will be heard at one public hearing, at which time anyone wishing to comment on a public hearing item may do so. Comments will be heard from those in support of or in opposition to an item. In order to comment on a public hearing item, you must fill out a public comment form indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. Once the hearing is closed, there will be no further public comment unless requested by a member of the council. After the public hearing, the council may act on all items not requiring additional staff, public, or council member comment with a single vote. Councilmember Taylor, with your comments, and we have several liquor licenses to approve, I'm going to open the public hearing on agenda items 14, 15, and 17, and confirm as I look to my right and left that there's no discussion we have on those three items. And I will close the public hearing on items 14, 15, and 17. And can we do all three together? Okay. I'll entertain a motion on agenda items 14, 15, and 17.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second, okay. Please vote. Those are approved with a 6-1 vote. Thank you. On agenda item 16, I will now open the public hearing on agenda item 16. And for the public to know, we did have some discussion on this in the study session. This is something I commented on, that in a given year, we probably have as a council about 100 requests for liquor licenses, and I have, Councilmember Peterson, pretty much been, I think, 100%. I've had some concerns with sampling. Some have been approved, but if it's been a sampling in a more of a family grocery store, I've had some concerns with that. We do appreciate additional information that came from Tuesday, and that's on the dais. We've had a chance to review it, and I don't know if council members, you have any discussion. Certainly, Councilmember Peterson, I think your comments you made are applicable to a vote that we'll take on 16. Are there any additional comments any of you would have? Councilmember Cook?
I asked Kathy to do some investigation work for me, and I actually went to the Sprouts grocery store and talked to the manager, so I actually have a good view, because I wanted to see if the area in question was going to be maybe roped off and so forth. And from my perspective, it won't be roped off, but I did ask, you know, again, the mechanics and the operational pieces as it relates to how they will serve the sampling, and I felt very comfortable that there will be due diligence from the grocery store, that they will manage the sampling to legal adults, so they will protect the sampling from minors. The other thing, too, that I wanted to share is that this council, some members of this council has been in a process of approving sampling at a couple other family-related grocery stores, like 2 Safeways and a Sam's Club. And I also was notified that this list may not be fully complete, but there is also a Fry's located in the southern part of Gilbert that also provides sampling as very close to the front entrance. So I know that you have your personal feelings, and I appreciate that, but I know that for my own self, when I have time to go to a restaurant, and my wife and I look at that massive wine list, and I am not a connoisseur of wine, sometimes I might appreciate a little opportunity to, you know, sample just to see if there's some that I like or not like. So I'm actually very much in favor of supporting the approval of this particular agenda item.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilmember Peterson?
Just a quick comment that I don't know if it addresses any concerns or not, but the state law, if followed, makes it impossible to become intoxicated from these samples. That there's a limit to how much one person can get. They can't come back for more, and it's so I don't think that's a concern.
Thank you. And to Sprouts, we appreciate the additional information that came, and being part of our Gilbert community and the services that you provide. On that note, I will close the public hearing on agenda item 16 and entertain a motion.
I motion to approve agenda item 16.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion. Please vote. Was that second? That's approved with a 4-3 vote. Thank you. The next agenda item, and Vice Mayor Cooper, we had no request to speak on it, and that would be agenda items 18, 21, and 22.
Correct.
One thing seems wrong, so isn't this one? Oh, that's 19. Okay. So 18, 21, and 22, I open the public hearing on those 3 items. And as I asked before, we had no one requesting to speak, and we had no council members that wish to speak on that. So I close the public hearing on 18, 21, and 22, and then we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, move to approve items 18, 20, and 22.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I misspoke. 18, 21, and 22.
Great. Thank you. So 18, 21, 22. Is there a second?
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Please vote. Those are approved with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. I now open the public hearing on agenda item 19. And I understand that we'll have a short presentation from town staff. Please, Linda.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I will go ahead and give you a presentation on the text amendment to amend a limitation in one of our zoning districts. I am Linda Edwards, the interim planning manager for the town of Gilbert. I also oversee the Redevelopment Commission Heritage District area. The text amendment that we're going to be talking about tonight is specific to the Heritage Village Center zoning district. Not all of the zoning districts in the Heritage District. The Heritage District is a very unique character area of our downtown, about 1/3 square mile. The zoning district, I'll show you a graphic of on the next couple of slides. You can see its relationship to the Heritage District. The Redevelopment Commission held 4 public meetings and voted for approval of this text amendment 4-1. The Planning Commission held 3 public meetings and voted to deny this text amendment 6-1, and I will review some of those comments. The blue area on this screen is the Heritage Village Center zoning district. It is surrounded by other zoning districts in the Heritage District, such as multifamily, single family, and public facility institution. There are 4 stars on this graphic which show the location of 2 drive-throughs and 2 businesses that have service bays. I will be zooming in and you can get a better picture. I'm just showing you where they are in relationship from Juniper down to Elliott. There are 3 north of the Western Canal and 1 adjacent to the railroad. These are the 2 drive-through facilities. They are existing. They've been in our community for quite some time, and they're loved. They have their own parking on site, circulation, and drive-through facilities. These are the 2 service bay facilities, both existing in our community, one for a very long time, Clements Garage, adjacent to the railroad. I spoke with the owner of this business, along with the other 2 drive-throughs, about their concerns with this text amendment. They all support it. However, Clements Garage did not have an interest in being part of this text amendment as it relates to a service bay. Their future goals include possibly a different type of use on the property that did not include a drive-through. The Express Lube, which is adjacent to Dairy Queen is this partial structure that you see here, and the Express Lube is to the north. This project does have a service bay, which they would like to convert one of these service bays for traffic to come in, wrap around, and go through, and the other part of that structure would be indoor seating, outdoor seating, and a kitchen. Here's a close-up of the properties on the north side of the Western Canal. You can see the 3 green stars. They are related to each other in some ways, in that they share infrastructure that is complete, and on the east side, the businesses around them are also complete, fairly new structures. On the west side, the Burger King is surrounded by vacant land. However, the existing structure and drive-through facility are fairly new and have appropriate access and safe access to Juniper and Gilbert Road. This is Clements Garage, and I point this out because it is surrounded by vacant land and older structures. The possibility of Clements Garage converting to another use or a completely different use with a different structure is very probable. The tools that we used when we began to assess the proposed amendment have been adopted by this community and yourself. Some of those are the redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan exists in our community since 1991 and contains the vision statement that still exists today, and I will be showing you that and pointing out some of the intent of that vision statement. The general plan, recently adopted by our voters in May of 2011, has the same Heritage District character area since the adoption of the Growing Smarter Plan in 2000. We also have the Heritage District Overlay Zoning District and the actual Heritage District Center Zoning District, which we are amending with, proposing to amend with today's conversation. The other points here are there have been teams of architects who have had stakeholder meetings in our community to look at the downtown and consistently propose a very mixed-use, intense village-type community. Recently, the Redevelopment Commission adopted design guidelines for both commercial and residential properties, all including the vision as was originally created in 1991. This is a slide borrowed from a retreat the Redevelopment Commission had in 2010. I bring this forward because I think it's important to note that this visual does imply a wonderful, vibrant, mixed-use streetscape. However, this is more closely related to the 200 block where the lots are narrow and have no parking on site and the buildings come right up to the street. The area north of the canal have pavement and infrastructure completely surrounding the buildings with access to Gilbert Road and parking for their customers on site. This scene doesn't show that. We don't expect that in much of our community where the lots are very narrow and the community is committed to building a parking garage or garages and park and ride in other parking lots for customers on their site. This is the purpose statement in the zoning district. I bring this forward because I think when we look at development regulations that we try to look forward and develop for future development, we note here that we do encourage a mix of uses. It's not just one type of uses, but truly a mix and sometimes integrated vertically in the same building. This is the vision of the Heritage District. The words in orange are the ones that I'm pointing out because I think they do apply to this project, the project of converting a service bay to a drive-through, allowing the two existing drive-throughs to continue as drive-throughs, limiting the use of those drive-throughs to a restaurant use, and requiring a use permit that would need to be approved by the Redevelopment Commission and the Planning Commission. The conversion of a drive-through, the existing use of the two drive-throughs as a restaurant use would be family-friendly. They all would offer indoor and outdoor dining. It's a safe place to be. The existing development and the future development would be able to use these facilities, whether you're in a car or walking. It is a place to work. It is a place to gather, dine, and relax, and it will bring shoppers. It will be attractive. Now it's an automotive use. An automotive use is no longer permitted in the Heritage Village Center zoning district. The up-use to a restaurant use would be attractive. It would be a small-town feel. The Heritage District does not envision itself to have a very large user, such as a Walmart or a Target or an IKEA. The Heritage District sees itself as a mix of uses, mostly small and maybe mid-size, even up to 4 stories, but not a massive user. These are the goals that support the vision. I think it's important to note that the creators of these goals wanted to ensure economic viability, promote reinvestment, ensure a pedestrian-safe environment. When we look at a text amendment, we are not looking at the design review issues that are carefully scrutinized by our engineers, traffic plan reviewers, planners. The whole range is looked at another level, design review, and in this case, possibly a use permit with this text amendment. This is the limitation. The L2 limitation means that there are several uses in the Heritage District, zoning district, that drive-throughs are prohibited. At this time, you cannot have a drive-through facility for banks, dry cleaning, and eating establishments or retail. The limitation in other communities is similar. In our own community, we also have this limitation to prohibit drive-throughs at the future Gilbert Gateway area, which would be Cooley Station. I hope the community is excited about that because we will have it someday at Recker and Williamsfield Road, about 110 acres of village center. And with a clean slate, with buildings up to the street and no drive-throughs. In Chandler and Scottsdale, they also have drive-through facilities that have been grandfathered and are still there today, but future users on a clean slate would not be permitted to have a drive-through. After Google research, we tried to anticipate if there was a use permit proposed, what kinds of impacts would you want to regulate in some way? After reading staff reports and looking at minutes, we saw consistent discussion on safe stacking, hours of operation, the conflict between vehicular and pedestrian circulation, access to arterials, hours of operation, noise, light, and visual impacts, mostly because some of the drive-throughs in these projects in other communities were adjacent to residential. In this case, all of the three businesses are not adjacent to residential. They're surrounded by other HVC zoning district users. The Redevelopment Commission came up with 6 options for discussion. They chose number 2. The first one would be that they would just strike the L2 limitation. Therefore, you could have drive-throughs anywhere in the zoning district, the Heritage Village Center zoning district, which was the large blue area that I showed you on the first exhibit, which means all the vacant land that is currently zoned HVC could accommodate drive-throughs. That's not really in tune with the vision of a very intense development. The limitation 2 received the most discussion because after looking at the area, the L2 limitation north of the Western Canal would be more focused in the community where there was existing infrastructure and would relate only to existing facilities that had a drive-through facility or a service bay. After discussion with the public and speakers, there was also a suggestion to have a use permit associated with the conversion of a drive-through to a service bay to a drive-through, and a new user, if that should take place, to have a use permit to mitigate any issues. We also recognized in our land development code the only time that we spoke about a service bay was under the supplemental use regulations for vehicles. So we decided with this text amendment it would be a good idea to propose a glossary term for what is a service bay. The windows that you see in Postino's or Joe's, yes, they do have a flavor of an old garage door, but they are truly intended to be a glass wall that's movable to enjoy the weather we have here. It's not intended for a vehicle to drive through it. Option number 3. The option here was to just simply not have the L2 limitation on the north side of the Western Canal. There was discussion on this one that there was a very large vacant area around Burger King, which means all of that land would now or could be developed with drive-throughs. And the Redevelopment Commission did not support that option. Option number 4, to delete the L2 limitation but require a use permit. There was discussion about concerns that, again, new vacant land would be able to develop new drive-throughs. And even with a use permit, it would take away the intensity of development that the vision was looking for. Number 5, this option basically requires a use permit with additional unique findings. And those findings I talked about as far as what other communities thought needed to be discussed. The 6th option would be to take the area north of the Western Canal and give it a new zoning district. A zoning district, for instance, of shopping center, which would allow all the uses that are existing there today. The commission, the Redevelopment Commission, felt that they wanted to maintain the vibrancy and the mix of uses that were currently allowed in the Heritage Village Center zoning district. So they did not want to change to SC or another commercial zoning district. They felt like the Heritage Village Center zoning district was appropriate for that area for reuse and new uses over time. This is the proposed text amendment. All the uses that currently are prohibited to have a drive-through today would continue to be prohibited except for a restaurant use when the existing facility was there, or if a service bay could be converted to a drive-through facility. This language provides that. Existing drive-through facilities located north of the Western Canal may continue to operate as a drive-through until the drive-through is removed or converted to be part of the structure. An existing service bay facility located north of the canal may be converted to a drive-through facility for restaurant, beverage service, or restaurant limited service uses until the facility is removed or converted. A use permit is required. The glossary new term for a service bay would be a building containing bay or roll-up doors or similar service openings to provide service within a building. Here's a summary, and I only have one more slide. The Redevelopment Commission felt that the site north of the canal or the properties north of the canal have a different feel, that it was built not too long ago, actually, maybe 10, 15, 20 years on some of those structures, that there's adequate access, and 6 options were reviewed, and they voted 4-1 in favor. The Planning Commission recommended denial. They felt that the text amendment was too specific, that if the character truly was different north of the canal, maybe it should be taken out of the Heritage District, or a zoning district more appropriate to the existing uses might be a solution. They also had concerns for traffic. We have had some preliminary discussions regarding a reuse of the property with our engineering and traffic department. There are no concerns regarding the amount of traffic that could be generated by this business, as we actually hope for much more traffic in our community, especially in this area. Also, the circulation on site can be mitigated, and there is enough room for appropriate stacking for a drive-through for the service bay conversion. The public had comments for this text amendment. Some felt that business is good for business, and that most of the customers would be from existing traffic, that the design review process would resolve the site plan concerns. There were other residents and business owners that did not agree with that. They felt that the text amendment is not in line with the vision, that it has conflicts for the pedestrian ambiance, that the text amendment is too specific, and that the town should not be involved in resolving economic issues. These are some notes for your final consideration. This amendment affects only 3 sites in one zoning district, not the entire Heritage District area. The sites can safely accommodate drive-through facilities. The L2 limitation would be so restrictive that it would only be used for restaurant uses. In addition, a use permit would need to be approved by the Redevelopment Commission and the Planning Commission. This text amendment would encourage reinvestment and up-use. So that's the summary of this project. I am on hand for any questions. I know it was a very thick packet with all the minutes from all these meetings and much correspondence from residents who wanted to be involved in the discussion.
Can you go back 2 slides? Forward 1, I'm sorry. We appreciate great efforts, your efforts, and the Redevelopment Commission, the Planning Commission that have taken a detailed look at this request and have provided feedback. On the agenda tonight is not to change our current boundaries of the Heritage District, and yet, as has been noted, both commissions have expressed that that might be an appropriate thing to do. If that were to happen, is the Redevelopment Commission the group to start that? Or is it the Planning Commission, or?
Mayor, you may direct staff to initiate a text amendment at your choice.
Okay. The reason why I bring that up, and I'll look to council for direction, we want to stay on the scope of what's on the agenda. There were some discussions in the study session and a lot of the emails and representing our 2 commissions about looking at some options. And in representing the council, let me just confirm, it seems like we would want to give some direction to have some dialogue about possibly looking at some options, not giving any direction at this point based on what I've heard, and yet to consider maybe it is time to change some of the boundaries, reconsider some things, and if we give that direction, then we won't bring it up again tonight. We'll just give the direction to move on and be very specific as to what we're being asked to look at. But is that, as a council, a summary of some of the feelings we have, or is it not?
Mayor Lewis, I appreciate very much the work that's been done both by staff and our Planning and Redevelopment Commission. I have had several thoughts about this item, and my personal preference is that we do not direct staff to change our Heritage District boundaries at this time, specifically because when the vision was brought forward, and granted, Gilbert is the largest landowner in our Heritage District right now, so we have not only an economic vested interest, but long-term viability of our downtown core. When Powerline Trail was put in, it was meant to connect by pedestrian access both north of the canal and south of the canal. And so to limit our Heritage District to less than half a mile in length, I think would be, in the long run, a detriment to our downtown area. So that's my personal preference. I would love to see them continue to explore options. There's going to be lots of different uses that come in over the next 5, 10, 15 years as our downtown continues to thrive and prosper. And so I think in its entirety, I am in favor of a master planning process for our downtown. I am in favor of doing a number of different things, but as far as limiting the actual zone right now, that's not.
And that may be a better way to describe it, of just some continued dialogue about what that needs to be. And maybe I misstated some of the council's preference of boundary changes. I guess that could be discussed, but master planning and moving forward. So Councilmember Peterson. What I'm trying to do, by the way, as the council is to go big picture so that we get that out of the way and then we get into the details and the specifics of this request.
So to me, Mayor, my preference is to allow the change for the whole district. That may be, well, probably not a surprise to anybody that knows me. I think oftentimes we have good intentions with these areas. They're special areas with special challenges. And I think as government, we often create the very problem we're trying to solve. And in this case, I think we have special regulations, less overall land use options for people in our downtown than we do in other areas. And when you're talking about economic viability and being able to meet the demands of the market, you need your options open. And so, you know, I really think that's the best way to do it. Otherwise, this feels too much like special legislation to me. I know it's not by the letter of the law, okay, but that would be my preference. So I'll just leave it at that at this point.
Thank you. And Linda, just to confirm, that could be considered, but that's not what the text amendment says, nor what the planning department is recommending. Is that correct?
Mayor, if I may just clarify what your question is to me, and that is if Councilmember Peterson would like to modify the amendment so that it affects all of the HVC, not just north of the Western Canal, he may do that with this text amendment.
Right.
Mayor, it's option 1. Right. It's just option 1 is what it was.
Thank you. Any other comments at this point?
I just wanted to agree with what Councilmember Daniels said about the integrity of the district as we have it. I think I'm always open to discussions about vision and strategic plan for the area. We are doing some interesting things right now in a partnership with ASU that I think is going to help define highest and best uses in the area, specifically related to the town-owned properties, but I think that'll shed some interesting light on the future of the Heritage District, and I personally would like that process to play out a little bit more. It won't take too much longer. And then if the Redevelopment Commission feels that we are missing something or that we need to go through this type of a process, I'd love for them to actually recommend it to us as something that they would like to see us pursue, and then we can go on from there.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor Cooper, representing the Redevelopment Commission from the council, in the comments that you just made in Councilmember Daniels, is that part of what is coming forward for future agenda items in the Redevelopment Commission already without us making any comments, or is there some direction we need to give at this point?
Linda, you can help me on this. I don't think there's a specific agenda item related to this, but we can give direction, and I'm sure they would love us to do so. asking them to look at this in more detail. I would just encourage that we might wait a couple months until we have the MRED results. That's the ASU program that I mentioned. And then when they have that, maybe if they recommend that we do a larger master plan or a master development plan or something like that, I would entertain that discussion.
Thank you. And to the council, we have many citizens that wish to speak. And so we have an option of asking Linda some questions at this point or having the citizens speak, and then Linda could be available for future questions. What is your preference? Any questions for Linda right now? Thank you. Linda, I know you'll be nearby for additional questions. To Vice Mayor Cooper, as we looked at this list, we have a number of residents that have wish to speak on this topic. And for our citizens to know, in managing, when we have a number of requests, we do have the flexibility, and yet expectations have been set that typically the number of residents that come to speak in the public hearing, we talk in terms of 3 minutes. Because so many have wished to speak on this agenda item, and this is a little math that I did with Vice Mayor Cooper, and I will be looking for the whole council to feel good about this. We do have 2 citizens that have been very involved that have worked with the planning department to prepare a PowerPoint, and so I know that I've been told that that's roughly about 3 minutes for 2 speakers each, so a total of 6 minutes. What I'm going to propose is that we honor that, since that was agreed to from the study session, and then the rest of the speakers would do their best to try and have their comments in about a 2-minute range. Is that agreed? And we do want it to be fair. We want all those coming to speak to feel like they were treated fairly, and the math is close in making sure that it's almost equal time. It may be swayed slightly towards the PowerPoint being given a minute or 2 extra, but I think in general it'll be fair. And so at this point, I'll ask Vice Mayor Cooper to announce, and he will mix it up so we get a variety and have a chance as a council to hear some thoughts in favor, some thoughts opposed, and at the conclusion of those who wish to speak, then we'll have an option to have some dialogue as a council or have Linda come back up to help with additional questions. Those who Vice Mayor Cooper will announce, if you could come forward and state your name, and if you are a Gilbert resident for the record. Is this the item that there are some that have, well, I'll let you conduct that part. So at this point, Vice Mayor Cooper will conduct the next few minutes of our agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have a number of folks that have filled out slips either for or against this item and do not wish to speak, and I tallied those. There are 3 for and 9 that are against that do not wish to speak. We also received numerous emails over the last week or so. One of them specifically asked that their letter be read into the record. They are in support of the change, and so I will provide this, rather than read it here, we'll provide it to the clerk for the record. So that, unless there are any others that are out there, that's what we have for those that do not wish to speak. And then for those that do wish to speak, I'd like to start with Nancy Roberts and Dan Roberts. And just to prepare yourself for after them, we'll have
3 minutes.
3 minutes, 6
total.
6 minutes, yeah, okay. 6 minutes total for them. And then just to prepare, Doug, you'll learn that this Vice Mayor, Fournier, okay, this Vice Mayor is going to butcher names, but Doug Fournier will be next.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Cooper, and council members. My name is Dan Roberts, and I'm a longtime Gilbert resident, and I'm a property owner in the Heritage District for more than 20 years. We're very thankful to be able to present to the town an opportunity which will help further the town's vision of economic vitality and job creation in a family-friendly way. Text amendment. It sounds simple because it is. While we operate a drive-through business on the property today, a text amendment is needed to provide flexibility in a limitation that affects existing businesses in existing structures. The current use of the property is a service bay that some might already consider to be a drive-through. If we wanted to reopen a new lube shop today, that use would not be permitted, well, it would be permitted because it's grandfathered, but a restaurant use is more desirable as it fits the vision of the district. There is no talk of adding an additional drive-through on this property. Rather, our existing business would be able to convert a service bay to a drive-through for a restaurant use that also has gathering areas indoors and outdoors. The fact that this land is in the Heritage District requires a text amendment to allow this current drive-through with oil to become a drive-through with coffee. The site is adjacent to an arterial. Existing and future traffic counts can be accommodated, and multiple access points exist not solely on Gilbert Road. This site and adjacent parcels are completely built out. The proposed text amendment permits an up-use or reinvestment in existing infrastructure. The proposed restaurant use supports other businesses. The existing use does not. The proposed restaurant use encourages economic vitality and reinvestment. The existing use does not. Dotted lines on a document from many years ago define the Heritage District as beginning at Juniper Road and ending at Elliott Road. This reality is that virtually every person traveling Gilbert Road from the north would, one, not know that they've entered the Heritage District. They see no signage welcoming them to the district. And three, perhaps begin to sense something different after they cross the canal. And four, they assume they've reached downtown when they get to the core, where the restaurants, neon signs, water tower, and shopping are. The proposed use ensures the economic viability of downtown. It promotes reinvestment and attracts new development. The proposed use improves pedestrian and auto circulation to ensure pedestrian safety. Previous public meetings have yielded few positive comments about drive-through uses, yet the existing use is already a drive-through, and there are many existing drive-through and drive-up businesses within walking distance. Here are some more examples of that. The number of drive-throughs within the walking distance of this site is climbing. Now Nancy would like to speak.
I am Nancy Roberts, resident of Gilbert. Federal grant money targeted for the district seems to have been spent primarily in the core south of the canal. Funds received by the town over the years have been well spent, and the town should be proud. The funds have helped residents that were on septic connect to the town water system for the first time, helped provide much-needed sidewalk and road repairs and beautiful landscaping. The town even created our first ever street signs with Heritage District markings and the iconic water tower. Yet very few improvements were done north of the canal. In the south, there is a walking trail, parking lots, park and ride with transportation, holiday banners, water tower preservation, benches, trash receptacles, median beautification, streetscape, asphalt stamping, and Heritage Street signs. North of the canal, there are no landscape medians, no holiday banners, aging sidewalks, no asphalt stamping, no district street signs, considerably more drive-up and drive-through businesses. In the core of the district, you'll find new street signage complete with the de facto Heritage District logo, the iconic historic water tower. Outside the core, north of the canal, not so much. In the core, you'll find landscape medians, stamped asphalt along the roadway, stamped asphalt in intersections, new parking lots. Outside the core, north of the canal, not so much. In the core, you'll find brand new parking lots, park and ride lots. Outside the core, north of the canal, not so much. In the core, you'll find benches, planters, trash receptacles that adhere to the palette for the district. Outside the core, north of the canal, not so much. While the town has yet to add distinct welcome to the Heritage District signage, the most promising location would be at the canal, south of our business. Scoring the brochure cover of the Heritage District redevelopment plan, photos highlighting areas south of the canal, 14, north, 0. Is it part of the vision to be family-friendly? A restaurant use or an auto repair use? Is it part of the vision to be a place to work, gather, dine, and relax? A restaurant use or auto repair? Is it part of the vision to be unique, attractive, and vibrant? Auto use or vehicle repair? Is it part of the vision to be economically sustainable? Auto use or vehicle repair? Is it part of the vision to create jobs and increase tax revenues? A restaurant use would have 10 to 12 employees. A vehicle repair has 1 to 2. This will be great for Gilbert. We encourage approval of this text amendment and appreciate the efforts of all involved in bringing an exciting and vibrant business to attract more businesses to Gilbert. Thank you for the continued support of town staff and Heritage District redevelopment commissioners, demonstrating their intent to work with and be business friendly to prospective companies. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Town Council, we ask for your vote of approval, which is critical in bringing this to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug, and then after Doug, Jim DesMarchais. Let's try.
Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Cooper, council members, my name is Doug Fournier, and I am a resident of Gilbert. My wife Kathy and I have had the privilege of being very involved in the city. We built Gilbert Christian High School, and we've gone through a kind of a process similar to that with similar concerns and what have you. And I guess from a business standpoint, when I look at the proposed amendment, I am very much in support. I believe that when you look at the two businesses, to have an opportunity to bring in an entrepreneurial business that's going to bring more consumers and have an opportunity to have a thriving business opposed to one that's struggling from a city and for Gilbert. I mean, we're a great city and we're different. And I guess him here and just in support of you approving this amendment.
Thank you.
After Jim, it'll be Howard Morrison.
Hey, my name's Jim DesMarchais, and I'm a resident of Gilbert. I've been following this pretty closely, going through the different meetings, hearing the different sides and different arguments on it, and I find myself completely in favor of this text amendment. You know, I realize that when you have a plan like that, I think all of us realize that no matter how good you are writing up a plan, you can't anticipate everything. You can't anticipate business trends. You can't anticipate how the economy is going to change. And obviously, we have this system in place because we know that there are the need of amendments and occasion to improve things and to benefit the town. And I think that's where we're at. And I think the town has done that in the past. When I think of something like Oregano's would probably not be according to the heritage plan, but we made the smart decision, the town made the smart decision of saying we want to bring them in. And there's been other businesses like that that we've recognized that they may not be a perfect fit, but overall they're going to benefit the town. And making those kind of decisions, we've seen how the vitality of the town has improved. And I'm sure making those changes were also part of the reasons why this coffee shop is even interested in coming into downtown Gilbert. So those changes that you make, those decisions that you make have a real impact in the future. And this particular one may as well. Because you can see, as we've seen, the north of the canal is not doing that well. But bringing a business like this could change things. It has that opportunity to bring customers into that area. And we know as business leaders, what are you looking for when you're looking for a location? You want to see customers. You want to see activity in that area. So we might be looking at the first step in transforming what's going on north of the canal by bringing in this vibrant business. So when you're looking at bringing a vibrant business with customers into that whole area where everybody in the Heritage District can benefit, as opposed to a oil change business that is not thriving, in fact, it's heading probably to go out of business, it seems to me it's an easy decision when you're really looking at what's best for the town of Gilbert. Thank you.
Thank you.
After Howard, Linda Bergeson.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis, council members, Howard Morrison. I'm a resident of Gilbert, reside at 630 West Elliott Road. I'm here in support of this text amendment, and I encourage you to vote in favor of it tonight. When I look around, having seen many businesses come, and unfortunately a number of them go, I'm always curious what's going to happen to those places that go dark. To those that were open, that were vibrant, had a business, and then they close. We've seen way too many grocery stores close and wonder what's going to go in that spot. We've seen gas stations close and wonder what's going to go in that spot. Far too many pharmacies wondering what in the world's going to go in that spot. And we still ask those questions. And our family happens to own Corners, and we're trying to answer those very same questions, hopefully before anything goes dark. Here you have a business that has come before you and is saying we want to stay economically viable, we want to contribute to downtown Gilbert, we don't want to go dark. Unfortunately, that might be the likelihood if they're not allowed to continue a service bay drive-through that they already have. They're not asking for something they don't already have. They're asking to be able to continue that. Your affirmative vote on this amendment will allow them to do that. I think it's a worthy endeavor when there's already drive-throughs right around that area. Your passage of this amendment will not change the nature of the extreme north end of the Heritage Village Center, unless it's to the degree that Jim has just expressed, and that is actually to bring more vibrancy. There's actually been a concern that this might actually bring 500 cars more to downtown Gilbert every day. I'm in favor of that. I encourage you to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. After Linda, we'll have Alan Fitzgerald.
Mayor Lewis and Council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Linda Bergeson, and I'm a resident of Gilbert and owner of 4 commercial properties located in the Heritage District, one of which myself and my partners run. I believe that you have the notes from previous meetings and my last email that states the many reasons I do not believe that allowing new drive-thrus in the Heritage District is a good idea. I urge you to heed the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Committee and not allow for this type of spot favoritism type of zoning in this unique district. We have one heritage district that cannot fairly be compared to any others since there are no others that exist in Gilbert. As business owners down there, we have a momentum, we see that we have a momentum turning in the right direction in most of the public's eyes in regards to what's happening in our downtown. Drive-thrus should not be one of them. We are not opposed to repurposing this business as a restaurant. The drive-thru is the issue. As a voter, it's very disappointing to see representatives of our town seemingly disregard the vision that has been previously approved by the majority of the voting public. The rules currently in place prohibiting new drive-thrus is for the purpose of supporting a pedestrian-friendly environment in the district that we all know can benefit business in the district. Drive-thru business does just the opposite. Drive-thrus are solely for convenience when one doesn't have time to stop or the desire to stop. Do we want to preserve and promote a unique environment in our downtown Heritage District where people will want to gather and feel more part of their community, or open the doors to be just another place in the Gilbert that we have the convenience of driving through? I urge you not to open the Pandora's box for more requests for special treatment and exemptions. If the issue is concern over business going dark, then is the council and is the town willing to step up and help the other dark businesses that currently exist in the district? Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
After Alan, we'll have Jim Sadler.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I've been in front of you a number of times, but never on an issue quite.
Gilbert resident.
I'm a resident of Gilbert.
Thank you.
Also a property owner and a business owner in the Heritage District. I've been here a number of times, but never for such a controversial issue. So I've got some notes, and I need to talk a little bit about what we've seen tonight. It is a recognized fact that urban designers in a downtown district recommend against drive-thrus because they don't bring the people out of the car and into the downtown. They bring them into the drive-thru. That's why they're in their cars, so they can leave again rapidly. So it's not an accurate description. This isn't going to move the needle for bringing people into the Heritage District. The vehicle will come and the vehicle will leave. The Western Trail Canal, that development, the water features that are up there, the entire connectivity between the area north of the canal and south of the canal was the intention of that development. And we spent a fair amount of money and energy and effort designing that space. So the district is the district. There's not a north and a south. There's a place where we're going to develop. There's large undeveloped tracts of land. Sending the message to those developers that we can't stand by our vision, that we won't stand by our vision, and that we will allow this incredibly specialized bailout of a building and a facility and a business is the wrong message to send. In fairness, we need to keep to the vision. We heard tonight that there was some safety study done by the town that says this is going to be okay. That's never been made public before. There is concern that those 496 vehicles that were discussed early on in this conversation will cause a problem at that intersection. any of that development, any of the changes need to have the cost borne by the developer and the owner. The idea of a service bay. The service bay, as defined, a building containing bay or roll-up doors or similar service openings to provide service within the building, describes many businesses downtown, including Gilbert Storage, which is on that north side of the canal. There's enough bays going into buildings there to support 100 drive-throughs. I think we need to be very careful how we make this definition, and we watch that the fairness is true, and that we don't allow anything to go wrong with this definition of a service bay and a conversion to a drive-through. I urge you, please, to maintain the integrity of the Heritage District by voting against this and allowing us to develop the Heritage District as a group, as a town, as we have done with the existing overlay zoning and Heritage Village Center. Thank you.
Thank you.
After Jim will be Jim Torgerson.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Cooper, council members. My name is Jim Sadler, and I am a proud resident of Gilbert. My qualifications this evening to come before you is a corporate real estate professional of 25 years. I'm an officer of Jones Lang LaSalle. I've worked with a number of you on various projects that have impacted the potential economic development of Gilbert and the Southeast Valley. I am here this evening to strongly support this text amendment. On the fundamental merits of the text amendment, I have been involved in many of these processes throughout the years, and I want to take a moment just to applaud staff and applaud the Redevelopment Commission for their due diligence and the work that they've done, and I think the business case was laid out very clearly to you. The single point that I want to make this evening in support of this text amendment is that the town of Gilbert is in an environment and a day and age where it needs to remain competitive and show itself as very pro-business. There are opportunities to compete with other municipalities. There are opportunities to bring new jobs and new revenues to the town of Gilbert. And this particular text amendment and the business that could potentially be impacted here is an opportunity for you to step up and be pro-business. There are surrounding parcels in and around the Heritage District that will be high density, office users, et cetera, that will bring traffic, bring opportunity, bring economic development. And I want to tell you that I've evaluated the traffic impacts here and studied that carefully. And I think you've made a sound decision, and staff has supported that there are no traffic impact issues. So thank you for your time and good evening.
Thank you.
After Jim, we'll have Mike McClellan.
I'm Jim Torgerson. I'm a resident of Gilbert and the vice chair of the redevelopment committee. First, I want to say I believe it was our recommendation to move forward with a text amendment for number 2. I don't think it was just a blanket discussion. I think it was fairly specific, but you'd have to look at the record for that. I would like to say that, unfortunately, and this sounds very negative, I believe that the vision of the Heritage District is a wonderful vision, and if it could be adhered to in good faith, I think it'd be wonderful. But there is no real plan in place. And hope that the MRED plan, which is for the town-owned property, would answer this question, further adds to the burden of a property owner seeking some relief. The burden upon them is that of being in the Heritage District. It is a complete failure of previous management of this town and that department for not having a viable plan in place to give them an alternative, some sort of hope, or add the value to that property that people would competitively be bidding for. It is a very distinct issue downtown. We don't have feasibility studies. There are a lot of things that have been lacking. And with new management in this town, new leadership, in specifically that department, Dan Henderson seems to bring a lot of vitality and many options to us that have previously not been there. It does seem wholly unfair to take a property right from someone in the hopes that someday, even after all these years, 22 years of being a Heritage District, since 2003 and 4 when they first studied it to give it more vision, and still not have a plan in place. We have taken a value from someone and not reciprocated anything for it. The idea that extra cars are going to be a safety concern is an insult to my and your intelligence. I doubt that more than 50 or 60 cars a day would be increased over what the 26,000 that are there already. I would hope that you would look at this as more an opportunity to show some community rather than allow people who have no financial interest in the property and have not stepped up to make an offer to either rent it or buy it from the current ownership and deny the current ownership a realization of its property. Thank you.
Thank you.
After Mike, we'll have Mary Ellen Fresquez.
Mayor Lewis, Council, Vice Mayor Cooper. My name is Mike McClellan. I'm a Gilbert resident. As Mayor Lewis noted at Tuesday's study session, 25 years ago, most people went downtown only to get something at Dairy Queen. But in the ensuing time, a group of small business people put their time, their effort, and their money into reshaping our downtown into what it's quickly becoming, a location that attracts people from all over the valley. When those small business people decided to invest there, they were given rules to play by, the zoning and code rules. They played by those rules, risked their money, and built the thriving downtown we now have. From what the town representative said at the study session, the business owners north of the canal want to remain part of the Heritage District. In front of you tonight is a change in those rules. The lube shop owner wants to change the rules so he can replace a failing business with one that might succeed. I understand that. But if the rules are changed, then you, Mayor and Council, are picking winners and losers. And I don't believe, and neither do you, that government should be in the business of doing so. Changing the zoning for one business, but not for all businesses within the historic district, means, for example, that if, say, a shaved ice business wanted to put in a drive-through, it wouldn't be allowed. But another business in the same historic district somehow is allowed a drive-through. Or what if a competing coffee house wanted to buy the empty lot next to it and to put a drive-through in to compete with the one you would allow under this change? Sorry, can't do that. Conversely, changing the rules for all businesses would defeat the vision of the Heritage District, a vision the aforementioned business people have bought into and have created. I support competition. I know you do too. It's how our country improves. But the competition should be fair. If you change the rules and allow one location within the district to play by one set of rules and the rest by another, you give that business an unfair advantage over the existing one. The mayor and council should be in the business of creating level fields of competition, not tilting the field in favor of one or over the other. I urge you to vote against the zoning change. Thank you.
Thank you.
After Mary Ellen, we'll have Claire Jones.
Mayor Lewis and members of the Town Council, my name is Mary Ellen Fresquez. I have resided in Gilbert for the last 20 years. I purchased a property in the Heritage District in 1999, and after a tenant improvement, I ran a successful business there for 10 years. I closed that business, and then we did a major interior and exterior restoration, followed by a second business. I closed that business last year. I'm currently leasing the property to a wonderful antique store called Flashback Antiques. As a stakeholder, I've had a keen interest in the district. My interest has been deep and it's been long. I've been active as the president of the Merchants Association in the mid-2000s. I'm on the steering committee for the current rethinking of that organization called the Downtown Gilbert Partnership. I've served on the Redevelopment Commission for 12 years. I've served on many committees and subcommittees for the town, dealing with events and Christmas decorations, signage, public art, pedestrian studies, plant palettes, furniture palettes, traffic studies. I'm also on the board of the Gilbert Heritage Museum. The text amendment before you tonight came to be not because the applicant, the town of Gilbert, brought it forward as a way to improve the district. It came forward as a means to benefit one failing business. Over time, we've been reminded by the Planning and Zoning Commission and its attorney to not mention the business. That's difficult because it's intrinsic to the discussion. Tonight, I ask you to remember some salient facts. This can house a restaurant. It doesn't have to be a drive-through business. Stakeholders overwhelmingly do not want additional drive-throughs, and the preferred way to effect change is not by exception, but by addressing the root cause, the basic premise. Let us as a community address whether the current vision is adequate, and if it is not, we can change it. along with the mission and the goals. Also, please don't allow this to go forward without a more thorough safety review. Please vote to deny this text amendment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis and other members of the City Council. My name is Claire Jones. I'm a Gilbert resident, and I also am a business owner and property owner in the Heritage District. I've operated and owned a business there since 2005, and I'd like to specifically address the pedestrian traffic and the effect it has on our day in and day out business. In the first several years that I was open, when there were much fewer businesses in downtown, I got practically no walk-in traffic at all. It was just up to my individual marketing and marketing to bring people to my business. In recent years, the town has added a number of things to the downtown, to the Heritage District, including public restrooms, a farmer's market, new uses for other businesses downtown. And to my great delight and astonishment, every week that goes by and every month that goes by, more pedestrian traffic is coming into my building. So I'd urge you to just reconsider approving this text amendment because of the impact it has on the surrounding businesses and the independent businesses that are owned in downtown. We need people to park and frequent our businesses as we exchange ideas and make our customers feel welcome, not so that they drive through and head back out to spend their money in another retail center. Thank you for your time. Bye now.
Thank you. Thank you for all those comments. Vice Mayor Cooper has noted that we have completed those that wish to speak. Let me confirm, was there anyone we missed? Thank you. Eric, I believe that you might be able to help us, and I'm just giving you a quick warning in case it is someone else, but there have been a number of comments about the traffic, and that's very important to the discussion. Do you have some information, or can you share some of the findings, or is there someone else that would be more appropriate? And Linda, you can jump in on that too. And Eric, why don't you introduce yourself for those who are here at Council Chambers?
Sure. I'm Mayor Lewis, council members. I'm Eric Gadarian, the town traffic engineer. I apologize for my voice. I'll try to speak loudly so everyone can hear. The town policy shows that we haven't done a traffic impact study for this location. Town policy says that if a development doesn't generate more than 100 trips during the peak hour, which with 500 trips daily, the traffic study is not necessary. So this is based on our traffic engineering experience. We've talked with the applicant, and we think that the off-site traffic there's not much concern. Typically for coffee shops, there's not a whole lot of new traffic generated. It's usually traffic that's driving by that will pull in and then go back out onto Gilbert Road. While we don't have exact numbers, it differs on location and in parts of the country. Our main concern is to make the on-site work and to make sure that we can make the drive-through work with the other automobiles there and also the pedestrians coming into the coffee shop.
Eric, how many points of entry would there be?
I believe is there one direct access off of Gilbert Road, and then there are a couple other driveway accesses from neighboring. Okay. There's one access that you could get to Juniper Avenue via some of the other businesses.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wanted Linda to continue, but Eric, stand by and not too far away. Linda, on the PowerPoint slide, there was a bullet that talked about the traffic, and it seems like from a planning department perspective that we are comfortable with the traffic that would be generated. Can you speak more to that, please?
Yes, Mayor. When we have new customers in our community, we usually hold what we call a discovery meeting, which a few of us from different departments meet to discuss existing infrastructure. Projects sometimes have unique needs, whether they require use permits and all those kinds of things. We go through all that. We encourage this applicant after our discovery meeting to come in for a pre-application meeting. At that pre-application meeting, they did provide a site plan with a proposed drive-through with stacking and crosswalks and improvements to the access. So we had the opportunity to meet with a real proposed development and have input from traffic engineering and planning and others. And so that was the purpose of at least that initial review of a concept plan, and we became comfortable with the proposal to mitigate and to improve circulation on site.
Thank you. We have some business owners who have spoken against, and they have just done so much for Gilbert and the vibrancy, and are to be commended, and appreciation continues to be given. And I might just make a comment. We are bringing many businesses from outside of Arizona to Gilbert, and they're looking around, and our spot to bring them is to downtown Gilbert, and they're very impressed. And so there's many positive things to say for what we currently have. The question I ask is, and it was brought up in the study session, I just want to clarify again that some of the concerns that have been expressed is the impact on the businesses south of the canal and concerns raised. And so traffic is one, but could you confirm again exactly what this would mean? And I realize Councilmember Peterson's comment, if we proceeded down that direction, the impact would expand, but based on what is being proposed from the Planning Department, state again, what is the impact and where in the Heritage District?
The Redevelopment Commission, Mayor and Council, the Redevelopment Commission did review 6 options, and after a review of the 6 options, they crafted the text amendment so that the impact of this limitation would continue to prohibit drive-throughs throughout the Heritage Village Center zoning district, except for the continuation of 2 existing drive-throughs north of the Western Canal and the conversion of a service bay, along with the requirement for a use permit only for a restaurant use. So what we're talking about are 3 existing businesses, 2 that have drive-throughs, 1 that has a service bay. So the rest of the Heritage Village Center zoning district would not be able to develop new drive-throughs.
Do we have feedback from the businesses that are in close proximity to the site that we've been talking about?
Mayor and Council, yes, through the owners, Nancy and Dan Robert, they have canvassed the owners adjacent to their property, the school, offices, and a smaller office that they actually own adjacent to the north, the Dairy Queen, the Burger King, and they have received support. I believe they have written support from those owners who support this, and they feel it would complement their businesses.
Thank you. I know another concern that was expressed, there are some oleander bushes just to the north side of the Dairy Queen, and there was a worry that if cars were coming that direction, that might be a concern. And is that correct, that those bushes would be taken out and some adjustments made for safety?
Mayor and Council, we have a very creative design team that we've been working with, and they're very excited about improving the area, including pedestrian access between the properties. We're confident it's going to be beautiful.
Okay. And the existing business has, that we're talking about also that would be impacted, has 3 drive-throughs. I realize that what is possibly being proposed would have more volume, but it would be 3 drive-throughs going down to 1. And, okay. Other questions from council members? Council member, let's go Vice Mayor Cooper first.
Just a question, Linda. As far as I know, I may be wrong here, but you mentioned a pre-app, but I don't know that a specific case has been filed for the owners of the property. Could you just tell me or us what the process would be for them from here?
Yes, Mayor and Vice Mayor. The next step for the property owner, at least the property owner of the property that has the service bay, if they pursue a restaurant use on site, their next step would be a formal submittal of a design review application and a use permit. The design review application would go through the redevelop, actually, because it's a minor change, it would be an administrative design review, but the use permit would go through the redevelopment commission and the planning commission.
And how many months do you expect that process would be?
Mayor and council, we like to run projects concurrently, especially on very similar issues. In this case, would be very similar as far as the decision-making. So I believe that a use permit would take a minimum of 2 months.
And just a final follow-up, traffic has been discussed as well as on-site circulation, and you haven't received a specific application yet, and so I'm assuming that those are a little bit outside of our scope tonight, and that they would be reviewed should the amendment pass, and they proceed with an application, that those items would be reviewed in further detail under that use permit process, or at least the site plan process. Is that correct?
You are correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson.
Just a couple of questions here. First of all, you mentioned in the study session that there was a restriction on the number of access points that were allowed onto Gilbert Road. And I guess my question is, if we did remove the limitation on drive-throughs in the area, would that change that limitation of access points onto Gilbert Road?
Mayor and council, that would not change that regulation. For instance, each property owner at this time that is adjacent to Gilbert Road typically has access from an alleyway. The large vacant parcel that surrounds Burger King, we do anticipate that there would be new access points off of Gilbert Road, but it would be integral to the master plan, not just directly for one user.
Okay, well, the other question I had was about who would pay for the improvements. I see a note here in the packet that says that any changes to the project, existing structure, or new development will be at the expense of the landowner. But I didn't see it specifically call out the public, any of the infrastructure that's on the public property there at the curb and maybe the sidewalk. Would that also be at the expense of the owner?
You are correct.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that's all the kind of, oh no, I have one more question for legal. Can you tell me why Prop 207 doesn't apply to this case?
Mayor Lewis.
I mean the previous zoning, when HVC was applied, I'm sorry. I mean in 2005 when HVC was applied, why did that not apply to that existing property? I'm sorry.
Mayor Lewis, Councilmember Peterson, I do believe that the HVC was created prior to Proposition 207. Furthermore, it didn't apply zoning to the specific property when we created the Village Center, and you have to look at the individual properties.
No, I did ask staff. HVC was applied to that property in 2005. So I guess my question, my follow-up to that is, if Prop 207 had been passed before that, would that be a concern? I know, I want to hear this, sir.
Again, you know, Prop 207 specifically affects the individual rights of the property, and it looks to see whether the existing rights to use, divide, sell, or possess private real property are reduced by the enactment or applicability of any land use law enacted after the date the property owner is transferred to the owner, the property is transferred to the owner, and where it reduces the fair market value. So there are some hurdles that have to be proven if regulations are put on a piece of property after Prop 207.
My point of bringing that up is these property owners owned before this zoning came upon them. It certainly did cause a new limitation on the use of their property that didn't exist when they purchased. And I think I'm just talking about the principle behind 207. I know it's not a legal matter here, but it's the philosophy here. So I just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions or comments to the left side? Councilmember Daniels?
I don't have any questions, but I do have some comments about it, and I think it's probably time for us to get closer to making a decision, and would like to see this move forward as quickly as possible. Recognizing, of course, that there's been a lot of public hearing, comment, and discussion that's gone on thus far, and so I think all involved probably deserve some reconciliation at this point. There's people that I respect greatly on both sides of this issue, and I have taken all of their comments very seriously as we've looked at this text amendment. But every time a new business comes to downtown Gilbert, they're bringing traffic with them, and that's a positive. Whether they're coming, going to a restaurant, but not visiting any other businesses around it, they may look and say, hey, I want to make sure that I come back here. I think when we draw attention to our Heritage District, it causes people to want to return. So I think that traffic is important, but I think there is a secondary benefit. I think that our vision for our Heritage District has not changed since 1991, and I don't think that a text amendment of this nature affects the vision. However, our master planning process must move forward with our Heritage District, and I'd like to see us as a council put some ideas, time, energy, and resources behind that effort, and I would fully support that, and include pedestrian safety as a major element of that, because in its current state, there are a lot of concerns about pedestrian safety, and we've seen individuals be hurt and hit by vehicles in our Heritage District, even in its current state, without a drive-through. There are lots of economic issues that government does get involved with. It's just by nature, whether it's putting parking or parking structure in downtown Gilbert. That's an economic effort that we are making as a town to support businesses. And text amendments and use permits and conditional use permits are all tools that we use to make change and create impact and allow for thriving businesses. And so these are tools that we use, and I support those tools when appropriate. And this is another one of those instances, Mayor, where I am in favor of the text amendment. I think that it will do more positive things than negative things for the district, and I'd like to see us move forward.
Councilmember Cook.
I sincerely thank everyone that's sent emails and phone calls. I know that I actually went out and visited the facility, and again, many thanks for all those that shared tonight, both in favor and not in favor of the text amendment. I know last year we spent as a council a lot of time really trying to improve our small businesses with signage. And I know that it has been a very positive impact here in Gilbert with signages, and we spent a lot of effort. And I know that we've gotten a lot of compliments from our small business owners for allowing really your identity to be out there more into the public for attracting more customers. But I wanted to share really kind of a personal experience where I live in the northwest part of Gilbert by McQueen and Guadalupe. And there is a Dutch Brothers restaurant there on the southwest corner. And that southwest corner has a commercial property with the owners having grand visions of a thriving businesses. And there's many, many offices and office buildings that are there that have been remained vacant for many, many, many years. And then about last year, there was this construction of this little tiny building that sprung up, and it was a Dutch Brothers. And that little building has brought a tremendous amount of traffic into that particular corner. And the nice thing about it is there are now 4 new businesses that have sprung up at that corner, which used to not have any life at all. And it's been really exciting to see these new businesses, because I believe that those new businesses saw the amount of traffic that was coming through the Dutch Brothers, and they feel like, you know, I have an opportunity to have my business, an opportunity to attract maybe some of those Dutch Brother customers. So it's been really kind of a little big anchor on that corner, and we've been really excited to see that corner that has been not alive, but come to new life. So I feel that this new business of converting it from a auto lube to a Dutch Brothers will actually bring that type of new life to the north part of the Heritage District. And I'm very much in favor of seeing more volume, more traffic move into the downtown, and I believe it will be a tremendous business impact, because I believe that you'll also see potentially other businesses, just like the one on the corner by my home, spring up. So I'm all in favor of this.
Thank you. Any other comments? Vice Mayor Cooper.
People make fun of me because I love these meetings so much, especially the ones where we have a lot of public comment on issues that are controversial. But to me, it's thrilling to see so many people that have such strong feelings for our Heritage District. And I appreciate everybody. We've got a lot to be proud of, even more to look forward to as we look forward. In fact, some of the things that are probably, hopefully, coming down the pike the next couple of years may prove to be a tipping point, finally, for the Heritage District. So I'm grateful for all that's happened and all that will happen. Having the opportunity to liaison for the Redevelopment Commission, I've been able to see this process from the beginning, and I think we've had tremendous public input, and I think that everyone has behaved themselves wonderfully and honorably, and that there's been grace and eloquence throughout the process, and so I'm grateful for that. As I look at it, I really think that the option to support this amendment is where I'm at. I think it's the cleanest way we can move forward without having unintended consequences throughout the rest of the district. And it keeps a building occupied, which I think is important. Speaking of college classes, I remember the broken window theory and how that doesn't positively impact property values. So we want to definitely keep buildings occupied with businesses that are thriving, and that helps everybody win. And again, inviting a new business, giving customers new options, I'm all for that as well. And finally, you know, I just like to respect the opinion and direction of the Redevelopment Commission. The folks, I know it wasn't a unanimous decision, but those are the folks that are on the ground looking at these kind of issues every day, and their support is important to me, and so for those reasons, I'm going to be supporting it.
Sure. I also add, as a Redevelopment Commission moves forward, that their efforts and the businesses that have spoken tonight, there are several exciting opportunities that are currently concealed, and we hope to open them up soon for the public to see. Discussions are taking place. I close the public hearing on agenda item 19, and we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, just let me take 1 second here. I want to first of all see if there's any support at all for option 4 as more of a compromise. It would allow the use, but with a conditional use permit in the district. Is there anyone interested in that? Council? Yes. It still have a process. Okay. If not, let me make a few closing comments here. First of all, I want to just say that I agree that with the basic point that I think this business happening will be a benefit to the Heritage District. I believe that. I absolutely do. And this has been a frustrating case for me because I feel like we really are trying to do the right thing. I just don't know if we're doing it the right way. And that's where I get concerned. It's interesting to see the Redevelopment Commission on one side, Planning and Zoning on the other. And, you know, for me, I feel like they're kind of both right. I see redevelopment understand the area and the needs of it, and so they voted according to that understanding. P&Z, they're more the experts on planning changes and how it's appropriate to approach those, and so they went on the other way, but for a different reason. And so to me, I want to marry the two together, and I don't see support for that. But there is a reason, I believe, to make an exception for this property, and I think it's the philosophy behind Prop 207, which I believe in. I really don't think it's right that you purchase a property, have a set of rights to usage of that property, and ever see those rights be taken away. I just do not think that's correct. So because of that, I am willing to support it with the way it's being proposed, but I would also like to ask if we can include, and I've heard this tonight and I agree with it, the instruction to staff that within this year we will readdress the Heritage District vision overall, because I do think that we need to take a look at it. I don't want to leave it at this one fix. I think that we need to do some more work here. So those are my comments, and with that, I think I'm ready to move forward as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Taylor?
Okay, try to get the light on here. So not to restate, because I do agree with a lot of the general comments, but I do want to just give credence to someone that maybe came to a different conclusion, Mr. McClellan, about treating everybody the same way. I think those are very valid points. And just to get to the point, that's why when I look at the different options, I lean to option one, because I think that gives us the most consistent application of what we want to try to accomplish. And then as we consider the vision and reinforce what we want to do, then we will be treating everybody the same. I obviously come into a different conclusion than him, but I think that point he made is extremely important for us as we express our interest to future business owners that may want to come in.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Lewis, I move to, hold on, I'll get there. I move to make the findings of fact and adopt the attached ordinance approving Z12-21 as presented by staff, and also including an effort both through staff, Redevelopment Commission, and any other stakeholder groups that we embark on a master plan process for our downtown Heritage District.
Is there a second?
Second.
With that motion, second, please vote.
Mayor? Sorry, Robert's rules. I'm going to just test this. I think it will fail, but I'm going to try. I move to amend the motion to substitute option 2 for option 1. By the way, that's allowed.
Okay. Can you clean the voting slate, please? Okay. Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay. We're voting on the amendment and vote. Motion dies, or motion is not approved, and now we return to the original motion. Okay, thank you.
And just a question. So in Councilmember Daniels' motion, is it option 2?
It's option 2 with the construction to reinforce.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All clear? All right. Please vote. And that is approved with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. We have many citizens here who have been patient, and we thank you on agenda item 22A. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll move on 22A quickly. Thank you.
On zoning, you have to be really specific about what you're approving. Like I had this date Z12-21 because we have to study for
Okay. Yeah. Be a nitwit on the thing. I was like, wait a minute.
Well,
because
when you vote
I
on
know
an
that
amendment, too, that's basically saying you don't want to approve it unless it's your option 1. So for you guys to come back and
well, no, it's saying I have a preference. I mean, maybe I didn't say this clearly enough. I'm okay with option 2, but I agree with Mike. We're being arbitrary, and it's just singling out 3 businesses.
Well, then we need to completely redo the vision.
That's okay. Well, that's why I said, while we redo the vision. She's prepared.
So you mentioned driver until the vision restaurant.
Yeah.
But we had run this. I think
I think
takes
that's
away 20 years of since 1991 we've had a cell division. So without any communication or any stakeholders or any not really
no, that's a fair point.
community
yeah, I see what
input,
you're
we're
saying.
now just going to review, I think, to see, obviously know about the concept
I would
and
disagree
start
there.
over.
We're clearing the whole vision. I mean, that's
You're change planning downtown
one
look like.
piece of it, which is right. It doesn't change the whole thing. Say we're going to turn it into,
you're right.
Whiskey Row, things like that.
No, you're right.
So, anyways.
But I think, so much of it has to do with community input, citizen input, stakeholders groups. We need to hear from the residents what they want. That means we're an elected policy body,
Yeah, it just bugs me. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So a minimum of 2 restaurants. We don't know what kind of restaurants.
No, you bet. I didn't get a chance to meet you yet.
We mentioned that. I'll clarify.
Yeah,
I'll just make it a little worded correctly. Okay, sure. We'll change this up. Thanks.
Long time no see. I have a question. Planning Commission lost our liaison because John Sense is gone. And I was wondering if, I know the council doesn't normally choose a new liaison until they do their annual retreat in August. So I was wondering if they were going to.
They did that too.
Oh, they
It's
did?
going to be Jen Haynes.
Oh, when did they? I didn't even hear
Yeah,
that.
they just approved his tonight.
Excellent.
Appointment to the Bulletin Commission. So you're
I didn't even hear that done. I was sitting right
They
here.
did it right at the beginning of the consent agenda.
So that's why.
Yeah, they just adopted all of them.
Excellent.
So yeah, it'll be Jen.
I was hoping it would be done. Thanks.
You betcha. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. Okay, thanks.
Hey, Vice Mayor, there you go. 5 minutes. There's a relationship between both individuals, so it's not going to Somebody said the actor shoots it.
We just have the five.
He is a good actor. I don't think so. Well,
You know, from a basketball perspective,
We almost made it.
I would have loved to have been there.
Did you see the text he just sent us?
No.
So he's been sending me texts every quarter with the score updates. Highland won big. Minor was thrilled with everything. They're coming next Thursday.
I told Gary, it's good. I'm going to
really got that going.
Don't even
I'm excited next Thursday.
just go to bed. Don't even think about staying
What's
up.
big time? I mean, that's...
that is, it's like, to me like it's a Mr. Cohen's opus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this a one more? Doesn't want to speak. No. I mean, how much longer are we
We probably have an hour and a half.
Is that what you guess?
That's my prediction. We used to bet on what time we'd get out, but that was when we were getting out and getting ready. Problem is, we completely fall asleep. I mean, fall apart at 10.
That'll help.
We can't make motions.
We used to have like 30.
Doesn't matter who the council
Well, the rule in football is you never drink your water in the first quarter. It's only in the second quarter. Because coach will not let you go to the locker room.
We'll announce a 30-second warning, and then we'll continue.
I'll be back in 30 seconds. Then you can...
Not what the break was for.
Councilmember Peterson, I know in the prior discussion about texting while driving, so I didn't want to be texting while counseling. And thank you for giving me another 30 seconds here so I could help with the homework problem. I think we are ready to proceed. For those who are here to discuss agenda item 22A, thank you. This is Team Gilbert and families and individuals that we care about, and we appreciate many of the emails and comments that have been given. And Kelly, I better open up the public hearing if I'm going to follow procedure. And so I open up the public hearing for agenda item 22A. We will begin with our town attorney giving us an overview of what is being discussed, and we'll proceed in that manner.
If I may, Mayor Lewis, and very briefly, the issue of meet and confer is before the council for consideration as to what you would like to do. You have a number of options. Obviously, it can be repealed. It can be just left alone, where it will sunset in December 2014 if the council does not take affirmative action to continue it, or you can change that date. So there are a number of options available to the council, and it really is to your discretion. That is the first item. The second item deals with the transition plan, and you have two current memorandum of understanding with two organizations that expire by their terms on June 30th, 2013 this year. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but this really is to the discretion of the council, and you have a lot of options.
Okay. And we also have 5 individuals to speak, and so to the council, I don't know if we would want to have individuals have a chance to speak and then have some discussion. Okay, let's do that. Vice Mayor Cooper, and I'll give just this background that we, in representing our 2 groups, the leaders have been instructed that normally we have 3 minutes, but so that you can help take a lot of the comments that many may have wanted to share, they will be given 5 minutes apiece. We did see the note that there was a request to have one person proceed, and so we'll go in this order, and you can announce that. The first speaker will be 3 minutes, and then 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and then we'll go to the 3 minutes. Yes, I did open the public hearing.
Very good. And I did want to note that there was one resident of Gilbert that is against this item but does not wish to speak, and that's Mike McClellan. All right. First up to speak is Adam Hellman, and then after Adam will be Rob Dugan.
Mayor, Council, my name's Adam Hellman. I've been a resident of Gilbert for a really long time. Lately, I've been reflecting on the time I've spent here in Gilbert. I grew up right here, right where we are, and I decided at one point in my life to pursue the career of a firefighter in the fire service. And I chose to stay in Gilbert, and there are several reasons why I decided to stay here. First and foremost is I saw the opportunity when the town was still relatively small to be able to be a voice, to be able to be part of the decision making that happened here in Gilbert. As we, I remember a time when you used to be able to walk right into the town manager's office and discuss ideas, discuss problems, discuss just about anything. For that matter, you could walk into the mayor's office at times and discuss things with them also. And the lines of communication really opened during those times. But back then there was maybe a different sense of civility at times, what made it easy for that communication to happen. As the town grew, of course, it became more difficult for us to be able to come down at any moment and talk to the town manager or the mayor or any other person on the council. As the town grew, we needed an avenue to keep those lines of communications open. Through the meet and confer process, this allows employees to have ideas, thoughts brought before management in a manner that's going to be efficient and timely, instead of having multiple employees come down and speak to the members of the management or council. Even if, like I said, even if each employee was to come over here and speak with you guys, it wouldn't be very efficient at all. The meet and confer process allows the communication to happen. It's an important part of what's happened in the town so far as the way it's grown and the direction that it's taken. It provides management with a more efficient way of communicating with employees. We used to be taught, and I remember not very long ago, that employee input was valued, and sometimes I think that's still the case today. And that ownership would result in a more productive workforce. The employees of this town do produce something. They produce a clean, safe, and vibrant community, one of the fastest growing in the country. And it makes it possible for businesses to want to come into this community. So the employees play a huge part on the direction this town goes. And it's important for them to have a voice and be able to communicate their needs and concerns and ideas to help this town continue to grow. Gilbert has the potential to continue to be an innovative community, but I feel strongly that meet and confer is going to be part of that process and moving forward. Communication should not be feared unless it's one-sided. Mayor and Council, I thank you for your time, and thank you for your willingness to serve and to sacrifice the time to come down here and be part of the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
After Rob, we'll have Ray Savoy.
Mayor, Council, Rob Duggan. I am a resident of Gilbert. I'm presently a captain with your fire department. I was hired in 1999. I'm also the IFF representative for the MOU and have served as the lead negotiator in that process since we began. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about why you should keep Meet and Confer. The criticisms were that why should the fire department and police departments be different than the rest of the organization? And I'm here to tell you that we are different because of the work we do and the risks we take. On a daily basis, our exposure to injuries, illnesses, whether it's on the scene of an accident, at a fire, or arresting a suspect, are different. Look no farther than the histories of 9/11, Katrina, and the recent happenings in Connecticut. Your firefighters and police officers always are there to respond first and professionally. Our retirement is different. It's different because of the wear and tear on our bodies and the physical requirements to do the job. It's a young person's job. We have to retire young. Retirement is different for us. Again, based upon the physical ability to do the job. As identified by your class and comp study, our pay is different based upon the job that we do. As a result of all of this, our issues are different and they're unique from the non-sworn positions. Why does Meet and Confer work for us? We're a homogeneous group. I represent 3 levels: firefighters, engineers, and captains. I've served all those ranks. The leadership of my position has served all those ranks. We know their issues well, and we represent them well in Meet and Confer. Many of you are elected on a platform of government efficiency. I can assure you this is the most efficient way to accomplish this. All parties together, same place at the same time, to express our issues, work with management, work with HR and budget to resolve those issues and come up with solutions. There is no alternative that's as efficient in the process we have right now. As an example of that, the Valley Standard for police and fire is a Meet and Confer process. Talk briefly about some values. I referenced the value statement card provided to town employees that most of you probably have on your ID badges. About trust and relationships. Integrity was listed. I can tell you we represent that by working with management to talk about our issues and our interests, why each other's issues are what they are, ours and management's. Develop solutions to that are creative and effective. This process originally was going to sunset in December 2014. If you do nothing, it will go away on its own. We've established the trust with management to continue to work through this process and to develop a transition plan, which we all knew going in was going to have to change. However, we need the Meet and Confer process to develop that transition plan effectively and efficiently. Talk about the leadership value. Learning as a value. We've learned through the process working with management and your other directors how to recognize and value each other's issues and interests, to understand what is the root cause of these issues and develop a solution that satisfies not just my issue and interest, but also the interest of the town and budget and HR, personnel, everyone involved. Oftentimes these solutions are collaborative and affect everyone. We've learned how to develop consensus amongst one another to develop the best plan. It's not my plan, it's not your plan, it's our plan, and how to develop that consensus. And I can assure you the leadership development out of that has been significant. For our labor group now will be your management team in the future. Accountability, we have a commitment from a previous council to go through this process and allow us until 2014 to work through our issues and develop solutions. We've developed our MOU as a business plan for how to operate and how to cooperate as police and fire departments. Council still retains the ability to accept, reject, or modify our MOUs. And we would look forward to that opportunity as we know we have to develop a transition plan. As I close through this process, a couple closing thoughts. We're a unique group because of the jobs, the risk, and the issues. We've developed good solutions at no added cost. In fact, we've aided in the cost savings through the crisis. It's efficient and transparent. We need time for the transition, and that's best effected with the Meet and Confer. Well, I ask you not to give in to political ideologies, but instead trust your employees to do what's right. I'm going to follow up and extend just past my time by following leadership example provided by Councilmans Taylor and Peterson. You quoted our greatest president, President Lincoln. I would like to finish with this quote ahead of the time for you guys to vote from President Lincoln, our greatest president. If any man tells you he loves America, yet hates labor, he is a liar. If any man tells you he trusts America, yet fears labor, he is a fool. Labor is prior to and independent of capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is superior to capital and deserves much the higher consideration. All that harms labor is treason to America. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you.
After Ray, we'll have Rachel Lopez Delgado.
I'm not sure if I can follow that. That was very impressive, but I will do my best. Mayor, Town Council members, my name is Ray Savoy. I'm a longtime resident of Gilbert, and I've been an employee here as well, and I'm currently the president of the Gilbert Police Leadership Association. It is in that role as I'm here before you tonight to speak on this issue. I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to have my voice be heard and to express the concerns of those that I represent. I also want to take just one moment to thank all those who came tonight and were able to support us all for all of public safety. Thank you very much. I realize that there are those who are philosophically opposed to employees having a voice. I also realize that there's those who question the effectiveness of our current process. I ask you not to look at this politically or through the lens of theory. I ask you to take but a moment to consider all the success that we've had utilizing this program in the town of Gilbert. I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to bring up at least a couple examples of success stories that we've had here utilizing this process. The first one is the Lead Officer Program. The Gilbert Police Department was faced with ever-increasing costs due to overtime for supervisors. They were also overworking supervisors and had issues because of that. This issue resolved due to staffing issues at the sergeant level. Employees came up with the concept and worked with management to develop the Lead Officer Program. This program enabled us to save a significant amount of money for overtime costs, and as a great added benefit, we're now able to develop future supervisors. It's been a great success. The second one is a compensation philosophy, which I'm sure you're all aware about. The compensation philosophy is an amazing thing because it's pretty much, should be a huge surprise to all of you, that an organization our size that's been around as long as we have didn't have a formal strategy on how it was going to pay its employees. I was so impressed when we put a committee together and we had employees, both fire and PD, we had management, the folks sitting over at the table and the folks that work so hard to make this town work every day, and we had members of the town council all working together to resolve this issue and successfully develop what we now have as our compensation philosophy. Trust me when I say that is very rare. That just doesn't happen everywhere in government, to have police officers and firefighters, management and town council working together to resolve an issue. I think that's something to be proud of. As we all know, history has a tendency to repeat itself. I've been here for almost 16 years as an employee, and based on my historical perspective, I must admit that prior to this formalized process, things were a lot different around here. I, for one, don't want to see us go backwards. Since we started meeting with management and developing the MOU, we've been able to establish a strong foundation of trust and respect between labor and management. We have been able to have open and honest conversations and take that knowledge to educate our members and keep them informed of what's going on from somebody that they can trust. Through those processes, we're able to develop ways to become more efficient and more effective. We've helped save the town a significant amount of money over the past few years during a time when it couldn't have been more important. We were deep into the worst recession since the Great Depression. And during that time, we were able to learn that the town was in extreme, dire straits when it came to financial support. We were at a position where we needed to do something or the town was going to have difficulties being viable. As employees, we offer to have all of our salaries cut so that we could keep Gilbert viable because we care about the future of this town. Here we are today. We're more than just viable now. We're a vibrant community, we're successful, we're moving strongly into the future together as a community. The greatest and the biggest winners during that time were the citizens. We have one of the leanest and most efficient municipalities, and at the same time, one of the most highly effective and efficient municipalities. Is that just by chance? No, I don't believe so. I believe it is because of the hard work and dedication of the employees of this great town. What are we asking from you? We're asking for a voice. We're asking to be heard. We're asking to be a part of the process to continue moving forward. What we're asking is that respectfully, you vote to keep the ordinance in place as it is today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
After Rachel, we'll have Ina Narvez.
Mayor, council, residents of Gilbert, and fellow employees, my name is Rachel Lopez Delgado, and I'm a constituent, an employee, and a member of the SEIU Union. I come before this organization yet again to request what seems to keep falling on deaf ears. As an employee and SEIU member, I'm resigned to the fact that this organization does not want to deal with unions. That was clearly stated when council required a supermajority vote for union representation for employees. Unions give employees bargaining ability and a voice. Police and fire are still represented by unions, but they're facing the similar action. It has not gotten any better for the employees, and we're still waiting to find out if we will receive a pay increase or if we have to wait another year for that. That would bring us to 6 years with no increases, yet our pay is being nickel and dimed every time we turn around. We have a safe community because we have an outstanding safety network. Our police and fire departments are among the best in the state. They are the ones that make this community safe. They give Gilbert the ability to make the statement that this organization is committed to enhancing the quality of life and serving with integrity, trust, and respect. By taking away their unions, you are facing them being lured away to other cities because they offer better pay and better work conditions. This organization wants their employees to be respectful, accountable, innovative, and have open communication and serve with integrity, yet they fall short by the employee. I would like council and the town manager to consider the issue of increased wages and salaries, and also consider a cost of living in addition to that. When issues were decided in reference to the class and compensation study, it was discovered that some departments did not lag far behind. You now have to decide on how and when to allocate the funds and how you will tell some of the employees that they will not receive compensation. The employees are aware of the town's motto by wanting this organization to run by getting the most for the least. The town's mission statement says we are an organization committed to enhancing the quality of life and serving with integrity, trust, and respect. Where's the enhanced quality of life, integrity, trust, and respect for your own employees? This issue causes much stress to many employees, and some are afraid to speak out. I speak out for those resigned to the fact that our voices mean nothing, and I will continue to speak out because I feel that is right. I am asking that you give us, your employees, a better work environment, and pay is a huge part of that. Your employees work hard and are distracted by having to think about which of Peter's accounts they're going to take from to pay Paul. It distracts the creative thought process for them, and that could lead to innovative processes from your own employees. Employees do the work and have the ideas to make this a better place and to fulfill the picture of enhancing the quality of life in this community. The longer you hold us without any increases, the faster you are bringing us to be eligible for public assistance. When that happens, it just might be easier to leave employment and get on those benefits, because by then we'll have lost our homes, our cars, and our motivation to work. Is Gilbert willing to find out what would occur if there was a mass exodus? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ina?
Mayor and council members, my name is Ina Narvez. I am an employee, resident, and member of SCIU. I find myself up at this podium again, speaking on behalf of all the employees of this town. I am here trying to understand yet again why you are trying to take action against unions, as with SCIU in the past. Today you are here again taking action against Fire and GPD's union. Why do you dislike unions and allowing the employees of this town to have a voice? Labor unions were formed to help ensure that all employees have the right to fair wages, benefits, and working conditions. When did that become a bad thing? We all belong to some form of a union, for example, PTA, homeowners associations, neighborhood watch, a marriage, where groups of people come together to help each other, the community, the school, or their family. That is America. Most of you on this council belong to the Gilbert Small Business Alliance. Let me read you some of what the GSBA stands for. The Gilbert Small Business Alliance is an organization focused completely on small business interests, hopes, and needs. The Gilbert Small Business Alliance is an organization committed to accountability, productive action, transparency, and devoted to free enterprise principles. The Gilbert Small Business Alliance, where small business has a big voice. That is a union, a place where people who share the same interests can help one another. That is what we are trying to have here. We are trying to make sure that we are all treated fairly and equally. The mission of this town is that we are committed to enhancing the quality of life, serving with integrity, trust, and respect, is it not? Where is that for the employees of this town? We have all sacrificed the past 6 years without wage increases. Police and fire sacrifice daily by putting their lives on the line for all of us. You are elected into your position as council members here to serve the citizens as well as the employees of this town. You take your seat and bring your own personal and political views and fail to take the opportunity to get to know the organization, its employees, and what we stand for. Have any of you spent any significant amount of time in any of the departments here? Have you sat with an employee to see what they do on a daily basis? Have you asked them what their concerns are? Do you know how many of us are working second jobs to get by? Do you know how much stress is put on an employee here because we are a lean organization doing more for less? My mother always told me to make sure that you have all the information before you make a decision. Without considering or having answers to these questions, how can you make an informed decision? Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cooper, that is the list you were given, is that correct?
Yes, it is, Mayor.
Thank you. We are in a public hearing, and so to the council, comments you'd like to express. I know Rob had a key word that council members have talked about, transition, and Councilmember Cook.
Can I have Rob back up to the podium real quick? We've had a good discussion about transition. Can you share with me what you believe would be the time frame that you feel in working with your team and with Patrick and his team and so forth, and as relates to how many months maybe you would feel comfortable if there was a focused effort to capture those items of relating to communication that you believe would work?
Given the limitations, Mayor, Council, given the limitations of what we can discuss, say, in a reopener, which we would not be able to discuss those in a meet and confer environment, to me, at a minimum, would require the negotiations based upon the next year's MOU process. That's what I would see as the opportunity to meet with the interested parties to allow us at least one additional year to get through the class and comp, to see what the results are of that we're going to be waiting on soon. You have an opportunity to address here shortly as a council. But I would say at the very least one additional year's worth of discuss. Wouldn't take a year to discuss it, but one additional contract year to address the transition process in a forum that would allow for open communication and to build on the trust we've established with your management team.
So possibly going from December of 2014 to December of 2013, is that what I'm hearing?
We would request at least one additional opportunity to meet with council in a meet and confer process from what the contract we currently have, which would set to expire at the end of June of this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know there's a meeting next Tuesday to discuss compensation where the teams are involved, and does that meeting go forward independent of any decisions that are made tonight? And so there will be compensation discussions with the key leaders here?
Yes, that is correct, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? Okay, Councilmember Cook?
Well, I have lots of comments, but I'll try to shorten them as much as possible. I have spent probably the last couple of weeks doing some ride-along with fire, and had an opportunity to ride with the chief on a night related to a DUI task force. So I know that we have some very, very wonderful folks in both organizations that provide extremely high-quality work and protection for our community, and there's no doubt you have my sincere thanks for keeping, Gilbert safe and all the things that I expect you've gone way, way above in many, many cases. So there's no argument as relates to your professionalism that you provide, to our town. So again, thank you very much for that. But the one thing that it was very interesting for me is that I've had many hours talking to a number of the firefighters on a couple ride-alongs recently, and we shared, I shared with them a concept that was very important for me, and that is a concept of a one-team culture. And that one-team culture is a culture that I'm very, very familiar with in my own company that I work for, which is a very, very large organization. When I joined my company over 10 years ago, the size of the company was about 2,000 employees worldwide. And it has now grown over 12,000. But that culture, of that one-team culture, has still in place that allows the opportunity for a unique individual the opportunity to communicate, to provide an opinion, to provide feedback. And there is a process of that individual or group of individuals to have a way to communicate that to the next level of management. And there's accountability to that process. And as a company and as a leader within my own company, I embrace the effectiveness of that communication. Very similar to what I hear very much from you, how important that is. And I've shared that with Patrick, and I believe there is a tremendous amount of commitment to making sure that you will not lose that communication either way. And it is very important to have that communication. But the part that is important for me is that I look at this organization as a one team, that the communication process should be globally across all the organizations, all the departments within the town of Gilbert, because that is the culture that I want to instill based upon my own experiences within my own company, because I know the value of that. I know the value of how that inspires excellence. I know that it inspires innovation in individuals. Every idea and opinion that is expressed by any employee in the town of Gilbert should be valued at all times. And as Patrick said, he has that open door policy, and in fact, he, in my opinion, does an outstanding job with that. And so to me, I think that it's important for me to let you know that I believe that there is a need for a transition, that the process that you have, and it's important for me to ask really all the employees to participate in a process that allows to make sure that all the things that provide open communication are available for you and for all employees, because that really, to me, I look at this as a big family, a family that trusts everybody, and a family that wants to support and encourage everyone to do well, and that's very important to me for that.
I know some of the comments that were made, the terms professional and efficient and vibrancy, and this team here tonight has so much to do with that. You've mentioned the word transition would, even with your question with Rob, just turning to the council, would the council entertain a transition that some of the dates that were just mentioned that you might propose? Do you have anything specific you would like to propose?
I don't know what really is a good date, Mayor, and because, when I think about, even in my own company, when you have a process that's in place for such a long period of time, for me to end it right away is very disruptive. I believe that there really needs to be some period. I don't know what that period is yet, but there should be some period that I believe where all parties, both fire, police, and the non-sworn officers, or the regular employees, that there is a way that we can, figure out a process that becomes baked into our own employee handbook, that everyone will know that if I do have a voice or an opinion or some process improvement, that there is a process of accountability with all the management that individual could have.
Would the dates that Rob talked about, to go through one more cycle and then have maybe a end date at the end of 2013, is that something, I realize I'm not trying to create policy from the dais, but at least as a start, some discussion, would that be acceptable to you?
I think I'm open to that, because as I'm feeling here is that when we move into a culture where it's really a one-team effort, I think the meet and confer process will no longer be needed in the way it's been dictated, because I really feel that, as I shared with a number of the folks from fire and police, you have really the best individual who has the best seat in the town, and that's your chief. And if you as an individual or a group of individuals that have a wonderful idea or a process improvement, and you're able to articulate that to your management folks, I believe your chief has really the best seat in the house. He's well respected by the executive team. He's extremely well respected by us here on the council. And that's the process that I'm very familiar with, is that the management teams are always looking out and trying to help everyone in the organization. And I believe that somehow some process like that really can happen here in the town of Gilbert.
And I know we haven't made a formal motion of that, but let me just, to other council members, is there some support there? Let me go Vice Mayor Cooper and then Councilmember Peterson.
Well, I just want to start that I didn't come in tonight with any intention to repeal this ordinance immediately, and I really do agree that we need some time, if there is to be a change, that we take the appropriate amount of time to have the communication that would make sure that whatever process replaces this process, or whatever mechanism or tool or whatever it is that replaces this specific meet and confer process, that it be best in class, if you will. And so I not sure, you know, when I first came in, my thought was really just where I'm at would be to allow the sunset to continue as is, and then go through one more MOU process to cover a couple of, the next year and the year, or at least part of the year that is covered by the ordinance. But I'm not sure a 2-year MOU is that helpful, as it's very difficult to anticipate things, and so I would be supportive of looking at something shorter, definitely going through at least one more process and allowing us to have the discussion about communication. So the end date of the actual meet and confer ordinance, changing that sunset, you know, I guess it could move to either 2 dates. I guess it'd be 6/30 of 2014 or 12/31 of 2013. But as long as we're able to go through the process at least one more time.
Councilmember Peterson.
Mayor, I really appreciate the comments about transition. And, you know, I look back in the history of when the unions first came to Gilbert. I looked at the minutes. I've studied that. And, you know, I think the history is important. And I look back at what our former town manager, Kent Cooper, said. He pointed out his prior positions as a chief union negotiator and labor relations expert. Mr. Cooper said he had not seen a public outcry for this type of action, bringing the unions in, and wondered what the genesis for this ordinance was. Evidently, it was coming from the employees, and if so, what are the abuses and problems that initiated this request? I do think that we've had some management struggles in the past. I also believe we've come a long way. And I appreciate the comment about the compensation philosophy. I helped work on that, and I support that. I support having clear expectations for our employees so we don't have all these disappointments from mixed signals. And so we've done that, and we did the compensation study and the classification study. And I just want to make it clear that I am committed to competitively paying our employees. And I'll tell you, my end is to serve the citizens of Gilbert. I know that I need to competitively pay to do that. That's who I serve first and foremost. But that is my commitment. And I have no doubt that anyone on this council has that same commitment. We also know in order to be efficient, we have to communicate. And I believe we have a new management style here in town that is very open to that. You know, I'm sure a lot of you out there don't agree with me, but I promise you, if you email me, I will reply. You may not like the answer I give, but I will talk to you. And that's consistent with all the council members, and that's consistent with all the management that I know of. And anybody that doesn't have that culture, well, they may not survive very long. So I think we have already gone through most of that transition. I do believe we're ready to rescind the meet and confer ordinance. We will not be touching the existing MOU. I believe in contract rights, and I would not begin to try and tamper with that. I would defend those. So there's no argument for that. But I just think that I think we're there, and I think we've got the commitment in place, and we've made good progress, and I appreciate the help that we've had. But I think we're set, and we should move forward now.
Councilmember Ray.
To all the employees of Gilbert, thank you for what you do. I appreciate it. I appreciate it as a council member. I appreciate it as a resident. You guys do a tremendous job. To the public safety officers who are here, police and fire, thank you for what you guys do. I fortunately have not had to interact with anyone on an emergency call at my house, but I'm confident if that ever were to happen, we would have the most professional police officers, firefighters come to our house. I'll give you 2 quick examples of things I've seen that have really impressed me. I live close to Station 2, and Station 2 has come to different events within our neighborhood, our community, the scouts and things. And I've been down there a couple times, and we were having a lively discussion with myself and Captain Reynolds, and I had thought I'd done a good job improving my point on an issue, and he started talking about his concerns, and when he was about at the point of making his point, the digital sign went off and there was a call, and he stopped mid-sentence, turned around and said, "I gotta go, there's more important things," and left. And that made a lasting impact on me. I appreciate that. For those of you who are sitting down in here, you probably didn't notice the gentleman from Station 4 who left halfway through this when I assume it was a call, because I heard the sirens behind us. And they're obviously here tonight because they have an interest in something. And not did they walk out, but they jogged out. And I am impressed with all employees. I'm impressed with our public safety. And I appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilmember Cook?
I want to make a comment about there seems to be a theme that we're against unions. And I think that concept of we're against union is incorrect. You have a need for unions as association. You have the ability where you share a common profession, and that's really kind of been your nature, and that's been part of your DNA. So for me, I am not against what you do after hours as it relates to your associations, because it brings value to who you are and your members. But I think it's the way that we're talking about the one team concept of relating to the communication, because we want the communication for every employee to be heard in the town of Gilbert. I'm all for that. And I know that every one of us here on the council and even the management team feels very strongly that it is a very strong necessity here in the town, especially for a culture that we want to bring excellence to everybody, to hear everyone's opinion and value everyone's view. I want to make a quick comment about the compensation study. It is the desire from this council and for the management to get this corrected. And the compensation study that came back shows clearly that there needs to be adjustments in the structure. And as Councilmember Peterson said, you have my commitment that we're going to make this work. And I know that's important for all of you. We have spent, staff has spent an enormous amount of time, to making this work. And I know that there was a comment about trust. And I know that when I've shared with a number of the firefighters and police officers, there seems to be still a lack of trust because of history. But I know that we are very committed to making that happen, because when I look at an organization of this size, I look at what I call corporate best business practices. Compensating the employees based upon the competitive market is critical. In my business is critical as well. So I know that you do have the commitment of this council to making this work, and fixing it. So I just want to share with you that just be a little bit more patient. And sometime here in a very, very near future, there'll be some positive movement toward that.
Okay. Councilmember Peterson? Well, let's see. Let me go to Councilmember Daniels and then Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't feel like at this point we actually have the right to ask you guys for any more patience. Although I definitely appreciate the sentiment from which it's expressed. I feel like this is really horrible timing, Mayor, and I've been pretty clear about that in different discussions that we've had thus far. We have been putting a lot of attention on our compensation plan, our philosophy, and our ability to both pay our employees fairly and equitably, and to make sure that they know that their loyalty is appreciated. I think that the vast majority of you are here tonight because you're loyal to the town, both personally and professionally, and I think that needs to be acknowledged. All that being said, in no way should any of this conversation be construed as us not wanting our employees to have a voice. Quite the contrary. Many decisions have been made over the last 4 years in order to make sure that our employees both have a voice, that they're being treated fairly, that our working conditions are appropriate. And both within the MOU and outside of the MOU, that has been a focus, both of new management, council, and our citizens have really demanded it, and rightfully so. My, I guess, disappointment in this is that I think it's probably pretty unfortunate that at least politically you guys are called unions, because I don't think that under the current ordinance or under the MOU, you're functioning in the way that some of the demonized unions, rightfully or not, have been identified. And so I recognize the fact that within the ordinance, we have the opportunity as a council to say no at any time. And I appreciate that out, if you will, because at least under the economic conditions that we've been all under for the last 4 years, that's been a necessity for us as a community. I didn't come in here actually anticipating that I would support moving forward one way or the other. My preference, my personal preference, is that we allow the ordinance to sunset for multiple reasons. And Ray probably will be surprised, since we had a pretty in-depth conversation today, and I know that Bill and I have emailed back and forth a couple of times as well. And Mayor, despite my discomfort with the town really operating with unions, my preference right now is that we sunset. Now, if we have a concern about the quantity of hours that are being spent by staff to develop the MOU, which I think is a valid concern, because that's time, energy, resources that could be spent elsewhere to continue to create innovations, I actually would be supportive of a 2-year MOU so that we're done with that type of process until it's a sunset, and then recognizing the fact that I don't have an interest in continuing with the ordinance, because there would be a transition and an expectation that we would have a process and procedure in place that does allow the employees to continue, and the employees throughout the organization, not one department over another, that there would be a voice that could be heard, and that there would be open lines of communication in some form of a guarantee to our citizens. So that's my personal preference right now. I would like us to entertain perhaps a 2-year MOU, recognizing that what's been brought forward, at least thus far, solely for fiscal year 14, is compensation, which clearly as a council we have an interest and we've made a commitment to address. So, Mayor, that's where I stand
Thank you.
right now.
I did see, I think, 2 more hands. Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me address a couple points, not trying to repeat anything already made, because I do agree with a lot of the comments. I do have experience both academically and in major corporations that are non-union and union, and appreciate the comments what Councilmember Daniels just talked about. And, you know, in both settings, it's more efficient without union or association bargaining of whatever level, whether it's collective bargaining or collective bargaining light. And so a couple of years ago, somebody asked how many hours does it take of town staff to, you know, engage in the process, to try to really understand it. Okay, fine, that's what the theory says, that's what you said, or your experience is, but what about here? And the response was about 2,000 hours. And I could be corrected if that number's not right, but that's what we were told by staff at that time. And that's a lot of time that could be spent on other things. As I've looked at the story, there were a couple of issues that brought on, which we've heard, which is compensation and poor communication. And as I've joined and gone through a set of orientations, I've really been encouraged at, number one, the compensation study and the things that are happening there to address that. and then also understanding the HR processes that will allow for the communication that is so vital and that didn't happen prior. I know it's not perfect, and I think part of a transition plan would be to, work on that a little bit, but I do think it's robust to accommodate some of the benefits that were received by employees and town from the current process. So, I'm leaning to, move into a transition phase, and I think if we make a decision, we need to move on it and not stretch it out. Let's get into a transition. And I know that it sounds like we have flexibility to end it tomorrow. I don't think that's it. We're in a contract, we uphold it, and I'm leaning to a transition to let the current MOUs expire June of this year. I think 5 months is reasonable. It's I've seen bigger transitions happen in shorter amounts of time. I think 5 months is a reasonable, meaningful time, given some of the robust HR processes there that will be called upon to address, some of the feedback and concerns. So anyways, those are a couple of thoughts, both on the action and on the transition.
Thank you. It's interesting. In summary, I would say I'm hearing 3 potential dates, and I realize there's some details to confirm that, but 5 months, 12 months, and roughly about 24 months to the end of 2014. And so as a council, let's try and bring it together and have a vote and make a decision. So Councilmember Cook?
One of the things I would like to probably ask Carrie, and as Councilmember Daniels said, we have, in my opinion, as relates to kind of the, from a business perspective, her organization is what I consider extremely stressed professionally. We have a number of directors that we're trying to fill. These are extremely key leadership positions in our organization. And to me, that focus of identifying really the rock star for those positions is critical moving forward, because we do want an alignment with Patrick's organization, and to me there's a lot of stress in that. The other part is that we're looking for potentially a town attorney. Again, another amount of stress applied to Carrie's organization. And we're also, to me, one of the most important aspects of what Carrie and her organization is doing is really this compensation fix for the entire organization. To me, that's like the #1 priority. With all that added, I don't know how many hours at night you spend and so forth, but to me, if we're talking about a transition, to me, it has to consider what's going on in her organization, because her organization is a key role in the success of really any transition. And to me, the compensation part is really the #1 focus, and I don't want to detract from that. So to me, trying to do this in June is, I think, way too early, because we're still, working through that compensation process, and I want Carrie's organization really focused as that being kind of her #1 priority. So I can't support the June one right now.
Thank you. And you kind of gave me the impression, Vice Mayor Cooper, that you could go for you're talking 12 months, roughly.
Well, they one cycle.
One cycle. Councilmember Ray, could you support a cycle?
When we say a cycle, are we saying it's not really a year from now, it would be a year and 4 months from now, because this MOU doesn't end until June. Is that right? So it'd be 14, 16 months-ish.
Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, if I may, I don't know that I'll get my #1 preference, so I want to start talking about the compromise here. If the idea is to try and have one more MOU cycle at least during this adoption and work on the compensation study, because there are a lot of changes taking place, I'm sensitive to that. then a potential idea would be, and I don't know legally how this works, but if the motion was that the meet and confer ordinance would sunset upon adoption of the next MOU. And then that way, when that's done, then meet and confer is done, but the MOU would last till whenever it lasts. I mean, that's a contract. That's a separate deal. So that's an idea. I don't know if that fits everyone's needs. Or
Do you have any, Kelly, any comments on that?
Mayor Lewis, Council, I think the best way to do it, if that was the way you wanted to proceed, is we would have direction to bring an MOU for adoption and an ordinance repealing the meet and confer chapter or article in the code at that same time. We most certainly can accomplish it. It's just logistically, I think that'd probably be the cleanest way to do it.
Okay. So on a positive note and a summary, we're using that word transition, and now we just need to see what seems to be best for the council. And Vice Mayor Cooper, see if you can take us to the end.
I don't know if I can, but in that, I'm always hesitant to accept something that just kind of pops up here on the dais without understanding the unintended consequences. And so I wouldn't specifically act on that. I would do more, give direction that the team look at that and then bring that back to us. Where I would feel comfortable right now is doing a 1 year, one more cycle for 1 year of the MOU process and sunset the ordinance at the same time that the MOU ends. That's kind of where I feel very comfortable tonight. But if there are those that are interested in that other approach, then I would just ask that we get some more information on that later.
Would that, if you had a date, is that the end of 2013?
That I'd also, I'm not sure about
Okay.
that. What I had was MOU would end June 30th, 2014, and the ordinance would as well. But I mean, we could end it 6 months earlier as well. But I don't know what the pros and cons of stopping it, the ordinance midway through it are.
Do you, and some of the council I'm hearing as we try and wrap this up is we want to be cautious to just throw out dates, and maybe it's to give a general, especially because I'm hearing that we are saying let's go through another cycle, so it's maybe not tonight we have to have a date. We could give some general counsel a range, and that could be brought back to us is one option to consider. But in general, I'm hearing a couple of comments of, and I'm going back to the 12 months in that range, then you could come back and give us consequences, unintended thoughts, and so forth without having to get specific tonight. Councilmember Cook, you were in that range. I'm hearing Vice Mayor Cooper in that range.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I think that's what I would consider a large corporate best business practice, and I am all in favor of that.
Councilmember Daniels, you were a little bit longer, but could you be comfortable in that range? Yes. Okay. Councilmember Ray?
Can I ask one question?
Please.
I wanted to ask a question, and I know Chief DeWitt and Chief Dorn will give me the same answer, that no matter what happens with this, their personnel will continue to do an excellent job, and I'm confident that's the case. For Patrick, and I know you called this a policy decision, does waiting 1 year, does that add any complexities? Does that make it any easier? Do you have any recommendation from an employee standpoint and from a management standpoint what impact doing one more would have versus doing two more, et cetera?
Mayor, Councilmember Ray, whether you want to do one additional year with one process or one additional process that lasts 2 years, that's the same thing from a staff standpoint. So we'll implement whatever you'd like to do.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, I'm not sure I'm following. If the consensus right now is to go with Vice Mayor Cooper's idea, I'm not sure I follow the logic of it. And the main reason I say that is the purpose of the meet and confer ordinance is to provide a mechanism that allows for the production of an MOU. And so upon production of it, the meet and confer ordinance would, if that was the last MOU we needed, then there would be no need for the meet.
Right.
This. So I think it makes more sense to talk about, rescinding the meet and confer upon adoption of the next MOU than the other.
Mayor, maybe.
I don't know why you would last it to the end of the MOU.
Let me make one comment and see if it's a possibility that it brings us together. I'm hearing one more cycle. And if we would give direction tonight to legal counsel to say one more cycle, then you could look at the details and come back and give us what you think are the appropriate dates. Would that work for us?
Right. Mayor, I think we can most certainly do that. There is more to this ordinance than just the negotiation process. So I'm looking to the management team, but I think that we can craft something to bring back with the understanding that you want us to go through one more cycle of negotiation on an MOU that will be effective probably July 1st for a period of 1 or 2 years. I'm still not quite clear on that, but I think we've got the gist and can go forward.
1 year is, I think, what I'm hearing. So it would be one more cycle that would give us a 1 year.
Just so we have a date, it would be June 30th of 2014 would be the date that we're, the expiration of everything, the ordinance and the last MOU.
Mayor, that's where I am at, just because I agree with legal that I think there is more in the ordinance than just the process to establish the MOU, and I think that, again, I would need to review it in more depth, but I think that they're a nice companion with each other, and so I just recommend that they end at the same time.
Okay. So I think we're there, and I will close the public hearing in just a moment, and then I'll entertain a motion. I give just 1 or 2 quick sentences, and then we'll close. The emotions from the council too, and Adam, I'm going to look to you. In a mayor role and a council role, every fire station is important, but Fire Station 3 is still the Lewis Family Fire Station, and you lead that fire station, and you are one of our heroes. And that goes for any of us that know individuals by name. You fit into that category too, from Gilbert residents. Ray and Rob and others who have been involved in the meet and confer, you have been as professional as anyone I've ever seen. And town management has noted that too. And so you and others, you have just been examples of that value that we talked about with integrity. Part of Councilmember Cook's comments, most of us on the dais have had more of the private sector experience. And so in a transition, using that word, we will move forward to continue to have that one team. I drive down to Town Hall many times in a week, and there's an emotion that comes into my heart whenever I see that sign right out in the street light, American Heroes Way. In a sincere manner, you are. I know sometimes decisions and discussions don't give that impression, and as a council we've tried to describe our emotions best we can, but we appreciate you. We will try and continue to demonstrate that. The compensation study is a desire that is something that works for all and demonstrates that commitment, and we will do our best. There's a balance. Communication continues to be so vital, and yet to our heroes of this community, we thank you for the service you provide. And stated, whatever is in place, this is a group that will continue to demonstrate those qualities that show your integrity. So on that note, I close the public hearing on agenda item 22A, and we'll entertain a motion. Councilmember Peterson.
Mayor, I would move to approve I guess item 22A, but clarifying that the expiration date of the meet and confer would be upon the adoption of the next MOU. We'll see if that works for us. We'll try that.
Kelly, does that work in giving you the direction you need?
I would probably bring a new ordinance to you with that direction at the time that a new MOU is approved.
So if you're going to do a new ordinance, we don't necessarily need to do a motion or a vote. We just need to give you direction to do the new ordinance.
Right. It might be clear. I think your direction is clear that we are going to allow one more round of negotiations for an MOU that will terminate June 30th, 2014 and coincide. That's going to be the end of the meet and confer ordinance.
No, yes. For the MOU expiration date, and then the meet and confer expiration date would be upon adoption of the MOU.
No, Mayor, may I? That's one perspective. I think what I was suggesting was that they both expire the same time, being June 30th.
You can move to amend. You can move.
Well, I don't know that we're actually going to even make motion. We're just giving some direction here. That's kind of the feeling.
I did make a motion, and it's in order, so we'll see if there's a second.
Okay. And Councilmember Peterson, I thank you for doing that. This is the type of thing when we're giving direction, I think we're okay. And I didn't hear a second, so motion dies for lack of second. And I just want to clarify one more time with Kelly, do you feel like you have the information you need to draft a new ordinance?
Yes, sir. Based on the head nods, I think we have our clear direction.
Okay. So we will, Councilmember Peterson, we will have something come back to us that can be confirmed as far as if you're comfortable with it.
Sure. And what would be the date on that where we would actually see the ordinance?
We could probably bring one at the same time we bring the MOU for approval, because it would make it very clear that the intention is that the MOU and the meet and confer ordinance would terminate on the same date of June 30th, 2014.
That did not specifically answer your question, but I think just
That's not my suggestion. I don't know who else agrees with mine, so I don't know.
Mayor, as is typical, it's past 10 o'clock, and any council that we've seen falls apart at 10. So we apologize if we sound disorganized and discombobulated at this point. There's two different ideas on the table. A new ordinance is not what we need. We need a change of the expiration date in the current ordinance. And so staff needs to go back and determine that. That can be determined based on their individual discussions with council and based on the feedback that we've given tonight. And then we will vote on the change to the ordinance as a council. So I don't think we need a motion tonight. There's a recognition that there's two different opinions, or maybe 7 or 9, depending on how you look at us. But
Mayor, if I may, I think that we have the two options, and I think that we can bring an MOU for approval for the next year, beginning July 1st this year, as well as an ordinance, maybe with a couple options as to when you want the ordinance to terminate, or with some suggestions from this team that has maybe make it clear that there's not going to be meet and confer beyond June 30th, 2014, maybe leave things in place in the ordinance that are relevant.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that work?
I'm hearing yep. And Councilmember Peterson?
I just want to explain my concern. I don't want meet and confer still in place, so the argument that we need to start another MOU would begin. And that's what I don't want. So as long as that's handled, I'm fine.
Mayor, Council, we're very clear on that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
A question for legal. Is there not a way to amend the item on the agenda tonight to accomplish the goal so we're not dragging things out?
It would, go ahead.
Mayor, Council, there is a lot more in the ordinance than just the meet and confer process. There's prohibited practices and other items that we'd need to sit down and really go through it to bring the correct changes to you.
Okay, thank you. We move to administrative items which have been taken care of. We move to agenda item 26, which is board commissions and committee updates. Do we have any from the council? Councilmember Cook?
The HR CAP has a wonderful event at the Redemption Church this coming Monday from 1 to 5 to celebrate the MLK Day. And we would like to encourage all Gilbert residents and businesses to come and participate. And I believe, Mayor, you will be there opening speech or something at 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock.
And I will be there as well.
Thank you. Any other reports? Councilmember Cooper?
I'm not sure if this
Vice Mayor
falls.
Cooper?
Thank you. I'm not sure if this falls on item 29 or on this item, but we do have our Morning with Merchants. It's a quarterly meeting that we have in the Downtown Heritage District next Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning. This meeting is a change of venue. It'll be at the Boys and Girls Club. We're excited to be there, and we invite everyone in town to come to hear some project updates and learn about some of the new businesses that are coming to downtown Gilbert. Again, next Wednesday, the 23rd at 7:30.
Thank you. Future meetings? Councilmember Daniels?
Mayor Lewis, I did see both the article in the paper and had a conversation with our Gilbert Chamber about their request for us to look into a local preference policy. I know that we've discussed that previously as a council, and I will send around a future council meeting agenda request.
I believe to our town leadership, it's been requested that be a study session agenda item. Is that correct? Has that been captured?
Mayor, council, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Coming soon to a theater near you. Okay. Agenda item 28, report from town manager on current events.
Mayor, council, thank you. Just one item, I wanted to highlight a special event we have coming up on Saturday, January 19th. The town of Gilbert and the East Valley Astronomy Club are having a special event and bringing in NASA astronaut Dr. Michael Barrett to the Southeast Regional Library from 1:30 to 3:30. Dr. Barrett has been to the International Space Station twice, his first trip being in 2009 for 199 days, and his second trip was the 39th and final mission for the Space Shuttle Discovery in 2011. It's a free event. It should be a great time. For those of our residents that aren't aware, we also have a observatory in the Riparian Reserve that's run by our local Rotary Club. So again, that's January 19th, and you can get additional details.
And can you state the time, location one more time?
Sure. Saturday, January 19th from 1:30 to 3:30, and you can also find this information on our website.
And location?
Southeast Regional Library.
And is it by the observatory or inside the library?
Inside the library.
Inside the library. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 29, report from council members on current events. Councilmember Ray, just so this will happen next week, but an event happened tonight. Mr. Holland's Opus, except it was Mr. Minor, or yeah, Mr. Webster. Tell us.
So we received word that tonight Highland High School girls basketball coach Minor Webster won his 700th game. 700 is, I believe he's the, Mayor, was it the third or the fifth most ever for boys or girls coaches. It's number 2 all-time for girls coaches, and he has a number 1 all-time winning percentage. It's not even close. He'll be here next week with the team. They have a couple more games before the state tournament starts. One of the treasures that we have here in Gilbert is Highland High School and girls basketball team, Coach Webster.
And Dana, we're focused on a digital state of the town, but if there's a little bit of video from Coach Webster, next Thursday the team's coming and he'll be recognized here in council chambers. The item number 30, report from mayor on current events, I'll give you just one. The East Valley Partnership is using a firm that has expertise with economic development branding, and Gilbert's part of that. We had a discussion just this morning, and they're looking at helping the East Valley come up with a brand logo, which is just a tool, and yet it's more of a whole set of processes, procedures, ideas that would help the East Valley in our future marketing efforts. And that's underway. Gilbert's part of it. We'll give you more details as they come. With that, thank you for your patience. All the service has been rendered tonight by so many by being here. Meeting adjourned.
Sorry, it took me a while to understand. It took me a while.
Jared?
There you go. First one that we can.
First one.
Good. Hopefully that was okay.